The flames flickered wildly against the darkened sky, crackling with an ancient rhythm that seemed older than time itself. Around the sacred fire sat seers draped in simplicity, their voices weaving chants that carried whispers of creation, preservation, and destruction. These weren't just hymns, they were echoes of truths spoken at the dawn of existence. Every syllable, every cadence, pulsed with the weight of eternity, as if the universe itself was listening. In the Vedic age, humanity sought meaning in the cosmos, and order to the chaos of existence. The Rigveda, with its hymns that seemed to ripple with energy, spoke of gods who weren't distant rulers but forces entwined with life itself. Agni, the fire that consumed offerings, was the bridge between mortals and immortals. Surya, the sun, wasn't merely a celestial body, he was the giver of life, the watcher of all deeds. Indra, the thunder-wielding warrior, carried not just storms but the power to shatter darkness. These gods weren't static. They shifted with the chants, their forms taking shape and dissolving, growing with the belief of those who called upon them. The sages didn't just pray, they negotiated, argued, even demanded. The gods answered with storms, rains, and the quiet of dawns that promised renewal. Each hymn felt alive, vibrating with a primal emotion that pulled at the soul. Then came the Puranas, spilling stories like a river overflowing its banks. These weren't cold scriptures, they were lifeblood. People didn't just hear these stories, they felt them, lived them. The gods of the Puranas weren't removed from the struggles of life. Vishnu, the preserver, stepped into the mortal world again and again, walking among men as Krishna, Rama, and others, reminding humanity that divinity wasn't beyond reach. Shiva, fierce and meditative, danced the Tandava to destroy but also to create anew. Their consorts, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Parvati, didn't just support their counterparts, they were power, knowledge, and compassion embodied. The epics weren't just tales, they were lifelines. The Mahabharata, with its unrelenting complexity, showed a world where righteousness wasn't always clear. Arjuna, frozen in doubt on the battlefield, wasn't just a warrior, he was every human at a crossroads. Krishna's words weren't simply advice, they carried the weight of existence, forcing Arjuna to confront himself. The Ramayana, in its lyrical beauty, painted Rama's journey not as a god's tale but as a mirror for humanity's values and flaws. Generations passed these stories as if they were treasures too sacred to be locked away. Grandparents whispered them to wide-eyed children under the glow of oil lamps, each word soaked in love and reverence. Temples echoed with the names of gods whose stories pulsed through stone carvings, murals, and idols that seemed alive. The gods weren't confined to the heavens, they walked the earth, lived in homes, and fought battles within every human heart. The cycle of birth, death, and rebirth flowed through these stories, binding everything together in an intricate dance. The cowherd Krishna, who charmed with his flute, was also the divine strategist who guided warriors to their destiny. The fierce Durga, who vanquished demons, was the same nurturing Parvati who soothed her children. Contradictions became complements, chaos became order, and myths became truths. The beauty of it all was how alive it felt, how the gods breathed through the chants of the Vedas, the parables of the Puranas, and the verses of the epics. These weren't just texts, they were lifelines, preserving the pulse of a civilization. Somewhere, amidst this ocean of stories, it becomes impossible to separate the divine from the human, as though the gods and mortals were forever bound in a cosmic embrace. A faint breeze rustled the leaves of ancient banyan trees as the chants continued, the fire's glow illuminating faces that bore both the hope of the future and the wisdom of the past. It was here that the foundation was laid, where belief became flesh, and where the roots of mythology wrapped themselves around the hearts of those who listened. And just when you think the story ends, you realize it's only a beginning, threads left untied, stories unfinished, gods waiting to reveal more. From the hymns of creation to the war cries of epic battles, the gods have more to say. Their whispers are not distant, they call from the heart of the next tale, the next incarnation, the next chapter that awaits in their eternal unfolding. The air felt heavy, almost electric, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across a temple courtyard. Somewhere in the distance, a conch shell blew, its haunting sound resonating through the twilight. It wasn't just a call to prayer, it was a reminder of something far greater, the invisible thread that weaves through existence, binding creation, preservation, and destruction into an eternal cycle. In the stillness, one could almost feel their presence: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Three forces, three faces, yet one essence. They are not rulers perched above, dictating from distant heavens. They are the breath in every being, the pulse of every star, the quiet stillness between one heartbeat and the next. Together, they form the Trimurti, a concept so profound, it transcends the boundaries of theology and reaches into the very fabric of reality. Brahma, the creator, is not a craftsman molding the universe with his hands. He is the spark, the first thought, the primal vibration that sets the cosmos in motion. His four faces gaze in every direction, for creation demands omniscience. Yet, his presence is fleeting. He plants the seeds of existence and steps back, leaving the stage for others to nurture or dismantle his work. He is both essential and forgotten, like the soil that gives birth to a forest yet is never admired for its beauty. Vishnu, the preserver, is the heartbeat of life itself. He lies on the cosmic serpent, Ananta, floating in an infinite ocean that stretches beyond comprehension. His gaze is calm, serene, as if he knows the secret to balancing chaos and order. Whenever the world falters, when Dharma, the cosmic law, teeters on the edge of collapse, Vishnu descends. He takes form, not as a god towering above mortals, but as one of them. A prince, a warrior, a cowherd, a friend. Each avatar carries a purpose, a lesson etched into the history of time. Then there is Shiva, the destroyer. To see him is to confront the paradox of existence. He sits in deep meditation atop Mount Kailash, his matted hair catching the moonlight, a snake coiled around his neck. Destruction, in his hands, is not an act of cruelty. It is the ultimate act of compassion, the clearing of the old to make way for the new. His dance, the Tandava, is both beautiful and terrifying, a reminder that nothing lasts forever, not even the gods themselves. Yet, this is only the surface. For in the folds of these three lies a deeper truth: they are not separate. Brahma creates because Vishnu preserves. Vishnu preserves because Shiva will destroy. Shiva destroys so Brahma can create anew. It is a cycle, endless and eternal, a dance that spins the wheel of existence. And then, there are the avatars, the divine incarnations that descend into the mortal world to restore balance. Vishnu's avatars, in particular, carry an intimacy that bridges the vast chasm between gods and humans. When Krishna lifts a mountain with his little finger to protect his devotees, it's not just an act of divine strength, it's a promise. A promise that the divine is never too far away, never too distant to hear the cries of those who believe. But it isn't only Vishnu. Shiva, too, takes forms that defy expectation, sometimes as an untouchable, sometimes as a beggar, reminding the world that divinity isn't bound by class, wealth, or appearance. Even the fierce forms like Kali and Narasimha carry a message that the divine will become whatever it needs to be, no matter how terrifying, to protect what is just. What makes this concept so extraordinary is its fluidity. The Trimurti doesn't ask for blind worship. It doesn't impose rigid rules. Instead, it offers understanding, a lens through which to see life itself. Creation isn't a one-time event, it happens every day, and every birth, every idea, every moment of hope. Preservation isn't about clinging to what exists, it's about nurturing what matters. And destruction isn't an end, it's a beginning disguised in ashes. The stories of the gods are reflections, mirrors held up to humanity. When Shiva drinks the poison to save the world, it is a lesson in sacrifice. When Vishnu battles the serpent Kaliya to cleanse the river, it is a lesson in courage. When Brahma creates a universe destined to perish, it is a lesson in letting go. In the end, divinity in Hinduism isn't about distant heavens or golden thrones. It's in the sound of the conch, the rustle of leaves, the flicker of a lamp in a dark room. It's in the love of a mother, the justice of a king, the courage of a soldier, and the wisdom of a teacher. The Trimurti lives in every moment, waiting to be seen, felt, and understood. As the conch's echo fades and the temple bells begin to ring, there's a sense of something stirring, something ancient and yet alive, ready to take shape in the stories to come. This isn't the end, the dance continues, and the gods are far from done speaking. The first light of dawn had a peculiar stillness, as though the world itself held its breath. It wasn't the sunlight or the singing birds that stirred the heart, it was something deeper, an unseen force, whispering of beginnings. In the vastness of the cosmos, a lotus bloomed from the navel of Vishnu as he lay on the serpent Ananta in a boundless ocean. It wasn't an ordinary flower, it was the birthplace of all that is known and unknown. And there, seated on the lotus, was Brahma. His four faces turned to the infinite horizons, gazing in every direction. There was no one to watch him, no one to witness the miracle of creation. Yet, his task was clear, his purpose absolute. He wasn't just a god, he was the force that would bring order to the primordial chaos, weaving the threads of existence into a grand tapestry. With his divine energy, Brahma began to create earth, sky, oceans, stars, and the endless forms of life. Each creation carried a spark of his essence, as though a part of him breathed in every living soul. Brahma's role was monumental, yet his presence in the hearts of people faded with time. There are temples, yes, but not many. His name is not called with the fervor reserved for Vishnu or Shiva. Perhaps it is because creation, while awe-inspiring, is fleeting. The world moves on, and the Creator steps into the background, his work complete. But in the beginning, he was everything. Legends say that from his mind emerged the 7 great sages, the Saptarishis, who carried the knowledge of the universe. From his body came humanity, the beings who would shape the earth with their choices and actions. From his breath came the Vedas, the sacred texts that would guide generations. Yet, his work did not end with the physical world. Brahma created time itself, dividing existence into the endless cycles of yugas, ages that rise and fall like waves in the ocean of eternity. Despite his grand role, Brahma carries a paradox within him. His task is divine, but his nature is profoundly human. He is not untouched by emotion or flaw. One tale recounts how Brahma, consumed by pride, claimed to be the supreme deity. To teach him humility, Shiva appeared as an infinite column of fire and challenged Brahma and Vishnu to find its beginning and end. Brahma lied, saying he had seen the top, and for this falsehood, he was cursed to lose his prominence in worship. It is not that Brahma is forgotten. His essence flows through every act of creation, every child born, every thought conceived, every spark of innovation that changes the course of history. But humanity, in its worship, gravitates toward the sustainer and the destroyer, perhaps because creation feels fleeting. To create is to step back, to let the world unfold on its own, a lesson that Brahma embodies in every myth and legend. Even the gods themselves seem to reflect this dynamic. Vishnu, the preserver, protects the balance. Shiva, the destroyer, clears the way for new beginnings. And Brahma, having planted the seeds, watches quietly as his creations take on lives of their own. His is a quiet, uncelebrated divinity, one that demands no temples or offerings but exists in the act of living itself. Brahma's 4 faces also tell a story. They symbolize his ability to see in all directions, to understand all that has been and all that will be. Yet, even with this omniscience, there is a profound loneliness in his tales. His consort, Saraswati, goddess of wisdom, stands beside him, a constant reminder that knowledge and creation are intertwined. Without her, even Brahma's creations would lack meaning. And so, the Creator exists in a space both central and peripheral. His temples may be few, but his work surrounds us. Every sunrise, every breath, every moment of beauty bears his signature. He is not forgotten, he is everywhere, in the act of beginning, in the courage to create something new. The lotus on which he sits drifts on the eternal ocean, a quiet witness to the cycles of creation, destruction, and renewal. The world moves forward, but Brahma remains, watching with his 4 faces, his task complete yet never truly ending. Beyond the acts of worship, beyond the prayers and rituals, his essence lingers, a quiet force that whispers to every soul, create. The sound of a river, steady and unwavering, echoed through the forest. It wasn't a torrent of chaos, nor a stagnant pool of stillness. It flowed with purpose, calm and resolute, carving its path while nourishing everything in its wake. That is Vishnu, the preserver. He doesn't arrive with the fire of destruction or the thunder of creation. Instead, he is the gentle rhythm that keeps the universe in balance, the invisible hand that steadies the scales of existence. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, Vishnu rests on Ananta, the infinite serpent, floating in a primordial ocean. He appears serene, almost untouched by the turmoil of creation or the storms of destruction. But make no mistake, this stillness is not passivity. It is vigilance, an unending readiness to act when the fabric of cosmic order, Dharma, begins to fray. Dharma is not just a word or a law, it is the lifeblood of the universe, the invisible code that binds all beings to their purpose. Vishnu's existence revolves around it. When Dharma falters, when chaos threatens to consume creation, Vishnu doesn't simply watch. He descends into the mortal world, taking on avatars to restore balance. He becomes flesh and bone, joy and sorrow, strength and vulnerability. In these forms, he doesn't act like a distant deity. He becomes one of us. It was Vishnu who became Rama, the Prince of Ayodhya, to remind the world of the power of virtue, sacrifice, and unwavering devotion to duty. Rama wasn't just a warrior, he was the epitome of humanity's highest ideals. He walked through exile, heartbreak, and battle, not as a god cloaked in invincibility, but as a man bound by mortal limitations. His story wasn't about victory, it was about preserving Dharma, even at great personal cost. And then there was Krishna, playful, enigmatic, and profound. As Krishna, Vishnu was the friend who danced with joy, the strategist who turned the tide of war, and the philosopher who revealed the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. In Krishna's voice, the world heard not commandments but the eternal truths of life, love, and duty. His teachings weren't distant proclamations, they were intimate conversations, tailored to the struggles of the moment. But Vishnu doesn't always take the form of kings and warriors. Sometimes, he becomes something as unassuming as a dwarf, like Vamana, who outwitted a demon king to protect the heavens. Other times, he takes forms that challenge our understanding of divinity, like Narasimha, the half-man, half-lion who tore apart tyranny with his claws. These avatars show that Vishnu's preservation isn't confined to one form or method. He adapts, transforming into whatever the world needs at its most desperate hour. Yet, Vishnu's preservation is not about maintaining the status quo. It is about nurturing what is good and dismantling what threatens the balance. He is the calm before the storm, the hand that lifts the drowning, the force that holds the stars in place. His presence is felt in the smallest moments, a child's laughter, the blooming of a flower, the quiet courage of someone standing up for what is right. The beauty of Vishnu's role lies in its subtlety. He doesn't demand temples or sacrifices for himself. His preservation is not about dominance but service. Even his iconic symbols, the conch, the discus, the mace, and the lotus, reflect this ethos. The conch heralds the call to righteousness, the discus defends the weak, the mace crushes injustice, and the lotus symbolizes purity amidst the chaos of the world. But perhaps the most telling image of Vishnu is his sleeping form on the serpent Ananta. It is a reminder that even as the universe seems to rest, he is there, sustaining it with his quiet, unwavering presence. The ocean beneath him is not calm, it is a swirling abyss of potential chaos. Yet, Vishnu floats above it, ensuring that creation doesn't sink into disorder. His preservation is not limited to grand cosmic events. It is as present in the mundane as it is in the extraordinary. When a farmer tends his crops with care, when a mother soothes her crying child, when someone chooses kindness over cruelty, Vishnu's essence is there, preserving the delicate threads of Dharma that hold the world together. And just as the river flows, so too does his work continue, unending and eternal. For in every age, as long as the universe exists, there will come a time when the balance wavers, when the shadows grow too long. And in those moments, Vishnu will rise again, not as a distant god, but as the force that reminds us what it means to protect, to nurture, and to endure. The river of life flows because he watches over it, ensuring it never loses its way. The world trembles, not in fear but in anticipation. The air grows heavy, charged with the weight of something inevitable, something immense. Amidst the stillness of the Himalayan peaks, a figure sits, motionless, lost in profound meditation. His eyes are closed, yet they hold the universe within. Around his neck, serpents coil as if they, too, are entranced by his stillness. The crescent moon rests gently in his matted hair, and the Ganges flows from it in a cascade of liquid light. This is Shiva, the destroyer. But to call him only that would miss the heart of what he truly represents. Destruction. The word itself evokes finality, endings, a sense of fear. But for Shiva, destruction is not an end, it is a beginning. His is not the fury of senseless ruin, but the force that clears the path for renewal. Shiva does not destroy to obliterate, he destroys to transform. His role is not to watch the world perish, but to ensure its continuous cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Without destruction, there can be no space for creation. Without endings, beginnings lose their meaning. Shiva's dance, the Tandava, is perhaps the most vivid expression of his essence. It is not a gentle sway but a cosmic rhythm that shakes the foundations of existence. With every step, he shatters illusions and breaks the chains of stagnation. The fire that surrounds him in this dance is not merely destructive, it is purifying, burning away the old, the false, the corrupt, so that something new can emerge from the ashes. But Shiva is not all fire and movement. He is the silence between the notes, the stillness that precedes the storm. In his meditative state, seated on the snow-clad heights of Mount Kailash, he becomes the embodiment of detachment. His destruction is born not of anger but of absolute clarity, a profound understanding that life's only constant is change. He sees the universe as it truly is, a dance of impermanence, where everything must end to make way for what comes next. And yet, Shiva's destruction is deeply personal. He is the destroyer of ego, of ignorance, of all that binds us to illusion. When his third eye opens, it does not merely burn down the physical, it incinerates the walls we build around ourselves, the lies, the fears, the desires that keep us from seeing the truth. His gaze is unflinching, his fire merciless, but what it leaves behind is liberation. Shiva's paradoxes are endless. He is the ascetic who renounces the world, yet he is also the devoted husband of Parvati, the goddess of fertility and love. He smears his body with ash, a symbol of mortality and the end of all things, yet from his union with Parvati comes life itself, the divine children, Ganesha and Kartikeya. He drinks the poison of the universe, holding it in his throat to save creation, earning him the name Nilkant, the blue-throated one. In every act of destruction, there is a deeper act of preservation, a hidden compassion that transcends human understanding. Even the symbols that surround him speak of his duality. The trident he wields represents creation, preservation, and destruction, three forces that are never separate but endlessly intertwined. The crescent moon on his forehead reminds us of time's cyclical nature, waxing and waning, never truly beginning or ending. The snake around his neck, Vasuki, symbolizes both death and regeneration, shedding its skin to reveal new life. Shiva's devotees do not worship him with fear, they revere him with awe. They see in him not a destroyer who brings ruin but a force that clears the path to truth. He is the one who reminds us that clinging to what no longer serves us is a kind of death, while letting go, though painful, is the first step toward renewal. And in the darkest moments of life, when everything seems to crumble, Shiva's presence becomes a balm. He whispers through the chaos, "This, too, is part of the cycle. This ending is not your end. From the ashes, you will rise." His destruction is not cruel, it is the ultimate act of compassion, a gift that allows the universe to heal and grow. Shiva is the fire that consumes, the river that washes away, the silence that descends after the storm. He is the force that reminds us that nothing lasts forever, not pain, not joy, not even the world itself. But within this impermanence lies the seed of eternity, a truth that only Shiva, the destroyer and the transformer, can reveal. And so, the dance continues. The Tandava rises and falls, and with it, the universe breathes. In every destruction, there is a heartbeat, steady and strong, waiting for the next creation to emerge. Shiva stands at the center of it all, unchanging in his embrace of change, eternal in his acceptance of endings and beginnings alike. The first light of dawn breaks, and the world awakens, not with chaos, but with a quiet sense of purpose. In the soft glow of the morning sun, there is a woman who embodies that clarity, that pursuit of understanding that sets humanity apart. Draped in pristine white, she sits serenely by the banks of a flowing river, her gaze as steady and infinite as the waters themselves. A veena rests gracefully in her hands, its strings waiting to be touched, as if the melody of existence itself is held within her fingertips. This is Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, wisdom, and all things sublime. She is not a goddess of fire or fury, her power is different, quieter yet profound. She whispers rather than roars, but her voice carries further than the winds. Saraswati does not conquer the world, she illuminates it. Where ignorance casts shadows, she brings light. In her presence, there is no room for fear, for she replaces it with understanding. And where there is understanding, there is no darkness. As the consort of Brahma, the creator, Saraswati's role is not to build but to inspire the blueprint of creation itself. Without her wisdom, Brahma's work would be a chaotic jumble, a universe with no order, no meaning. It is Saraswati who breathes coherence into the cosmos, who weaves the threads of logic, creativity, and expression into the fabric of life. She is the source from which every thought, every idea, every song, and every verse originates. Her veena is not just an instrument but a symbol of harmony. The strings represent a balance between emotion and reason, sound and silence, chaos and calm. When she plays, it is not merely music, it is the universe vibrating with purpose. Each note resonates with the power to heal, to inspire, to create. It is said that the sound of her veena is what gave rhythm to time itself, dividing it into moments we can grasp and understand. But Saraswati's gift is not freely given. She requires effort, dedication, a hunger for learning. She does not bestow wisdom on those who do not seek it. She rewards the curious, the diligent, the brave souls who are willing to question, to explore the unknown. Her blessings are not material, they cannot be held or measured. Yet they are more valuable than gold, for they open doors to worlds that can only be accessed through the mind and spirit. In Saraswati's presence, there is no room for vanity or pride. Her wisdom humbles, for it reveals the vastness of what we do not know. She reminds us that learning is a lifelong journey, that wisdom is not a destination but a process. And yet, she does not judge. To the student struggling with their first letters, she is as kind and patient as she is to the philosopher contemplating the universe's mysteries. All she asks is a willingness to learn, to grow, to seek truth. Her symbols are as simple and profound as her essence. The lotus she sits upon speaks of purity and enlightenment, blossoming even in the muddiest waters. Her white sari, unadorned and flawless, reflects her connection to truth, untainted by ego or desire. The swan at her feet, said to possess the ability to separate milk from water, symbolizes discernment, the ability to sift through the noise of the world and find what truly matters. And then there is the book she holds, a reminder that knowledge is a treasure meant to be preserved and shared. But Saraswati is not confined to written words, she lives in the spoken word, in the rhythm of poetry, in the silence of meditation. She is present wherever there is a thirst for understanding, wherever the human spirit reaches out to connect with something greater than itself. She is not a goddess who demands grand temples or elaborate rituals. Saraswati resides in the quiet corners of libraries, in the ink-stained fingers of a writer, in the trembling hands of a musician finding their first melody. She is there in the nervous excitement of a student before an exam, in the sigh of relief when understanding finally clicks into place. Her worship is not in offerings of flowers and incense, but in the act of learning, in the pursuit of truth and beauty. Despite her grace, Saraswati's story is not without its complexities. As Brahma's consort, she is often overshadowed in mythology, her role diminished in favor of deities associated with power and wealth. But Saraswati does not seek the limelight. Her power is subtle but enduring. Empires rise and fall, wealth comes and goes, but knowledge, her gift, remains eternal. It is said that Saraswati appears at the beginning of every creation, her wisdom shaping the universe's foundation. Yet she is also present at every moment of renewal, guiding us as we navigate the chaos of life. She is the gentle reminder that even in our darkest times, understanding is possible, that wisdom is within reach if we are willing to listen, to learn, to grow. And so, Saraswati's Veena waits, its strings silent but alive with potential. Her swan gazes into the distance, its feathers shimmering in the morning light. The river flows, unending, carrying with it the promise of wisdom to those who are ready to receive it. Saraswati sits, serene and eternal, her presence a beacon for all who seek the truth. Her story does not end, it flows onward, just as the river does, weaving into the next chapter of creation. A golden glow fills the air, warm and inviting, like the first light of dawn breaking over a field of ripe grain. It is a radiance that speaks not only of wealth but of abundance in its purest form, of fullness of life, of hope, of joy. In the heart of this glow stands a figure of breathtaking grace, her face serene, her gaze soft yet powerful. Draped in crimson and gold, she seems to embody the promise of prosperity itself. Her forearms hold symbols of plenty, lotus flowers that bloom endlessly, a pot overflowing with gold coins, and a gesture of blessing that feels as vast as the ocean. This is Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, fortune, and well-being. Her presence is everywhere, woven into the fabric of daily life. She is there in the laughter of a family gathered around a meal, in the fields heavy with crops, and the hands of a potter shaping clay into something beautiful and useful. But Lakshmi is more than material wealth, she is the spirit of abundance that sustains and nourishes. Her touch transforms scarcity into sufficiency, toil into reward, effort into achievement. As the consort of Vishnu, the preserver, Lakshmi plays a crucial role in maintaining balance. Vishnu upholds the cosmos, but it is Lakshmi who ensures that it thrives. Without her, creation would lack its vitality, it would be a garden with no flowers, a song with no melody. Together, they represent the perfect harmony of action and reward, of effort and grace. Lakshmi's beauty is not merely physical, it is the kind that radiates from within, an eternal glow born of compassion and generosity. Yet she is no stranger to the complexities of the world. Lakshmi understands the struggle of the farmer praying for rain, the merchant hoping for a fair price, the laborer working tirelessly to feed their family. She answers these prayers, not with miracles, but by inspiring hard work, diligence, and the wisdom to use resources wisely. Her story begins in the depths of the cosmic ocean, where she was born during the churning of the milk ocean, a moment of both chaos and creation. As Devas and Asuras battled for the nectar of immortality, Lakshmi emerged from the waves, a vision of unparalleled splendor. Instantly, her presence brought a sense of order and purpose, her beauty captivating all who beheld her. She chose Vishnu as her eternal consort, for in him she saw the qualities of preservation and justice that complemented her own gifts. But Lakshmi is not a goddess who can be claimed or controlled. She moves where she is welcomed, where her values are honored. In households filled with kindness and honesty, her blessings flow freely. But in places marked by greed, dishonesty, or misuse of wealth, she retreats, her light dimming, leaving behind the emptiness that greed so often brings. Her symbol, the lotus, is a reminder of her essence, pure, untainted by the mud from which it grows. Lakshmi teaches that true prosperity arises not from shortcuts or exploitation but from effort, integrity, and the wisdom to give as much as one receives. Her devotees understand that wealth is not merely to be hoarded but to be shared, used to uplift and nurture. In rituals and prayers, Lakshmi is honored with lamps that cast a golden glow, reflecting her light. Devotees offer her rice, turmeric, flowers, and coins, each gift symbolizing gratitude and hope. During Diwali, the festival of lights, entire cities glow in her honor, their streets and homes illuminated as if to guide her presence to their doorsteps. It is a night filled with both reverence and joy, a celebration of abundance and renewal. Yet Lakshmi's significance goes far beyond the rituals. She resides in the actions of a parent teaching their child the value of hard work, and the quiet dignity of an artisan crafting something with care, and the laughter of friends sharing a meal. Her blessings are not limited to gold and jewels, they are present in every moment of contentment, and the peace of a heart unburdened by fear of lack. But Lakshmi's gifts come with a lesson. Wealth, she reminds us, is fleeting if not used wisely. Her fickle nature is a reflection of the impermanence of material possessions. To keep her blessings, one must live a life of balance, where generosity tempers ambition, where gratitude follows success, where humility walks alongside prosperity. Her consort, Vishnu, depends on her just as she depends on him. Together, they demonstrate that preservation is not merely about maintaining the status quo, it is about ensuring that life flourishes. Vishnu may uphold the world, but it is Lakshmi who fills it with meaning, with joy, with possibility. Without her, even the grandest of creations would feel empty, like a palace with no laughter echoing in its halls. Lakshmi's presence is subtle yet profound, her power gentle yet undeniable. She is the quiet encouragement in times of struggle, the promise of better days when all seems lost. And as the world turns, her blessings continue to flow, shaping lives, inspiring generosity, and reminding us that true wealth lies not just in what we have, but in how we use it. The golden glow lingers, a soft and steady light that seems to stretch into the horizon. It is not the light of a treasure trove or a glittering crown, it is the light of hope, of possibility, of a life well lived. And as it shines, it beckons us to the next chapter, where Lakshmi's lessons will ripple outward, intertwining with the stories of others, weaving a tapestry of divine purpose. In the serene embrace of twilight, as the mountains stand guard in their ancient silence, there is a figure who radiates a quiet strength, a love so boundless that it feels like the pulse of the universe itself. Parvati, the goddess of love and devotion, is not merely a consort to Shiva, she is his equal, his complement, his grounding force. Where Shiva embodies the fierce energies of transformation and destruction, Parvati is the gentle current of life that soothes, heals, and nurtures. Together, they form the perfect balance of opposites, an eternal dance of passion and purpose. Parvati's story begins not in celestial grandeur but in her humble, human-like yearning. Born as the daughter of the mountain king Himavan, she was named Uma, a name that carries the simplicity and strength of the earth itself. From a young age, her heart was drawn to Shiva, the ascetic god who roamed the wilds, his form smeared with ash, his mind detached from worldly affairs. To the onlookers, Shiva was untouchable, a force beyond comprehension. But to Parvati, he was the missing piece of her soul, the flame to which her spirit was irresistibly drawn. Her love was not fleeting or shallow, it was a devotion forged in the fires of resolve. Parvati's path to winning Shiva's heart was neither easy nor immediate. Shiva, immersed in meditation, seemed oblivious to her presence. Undeterred, Parvati embarked on a path of intense penance, renouncing the comforts of palace life to live in the wilderness, enduring the harshest conditions with unwavering determination. Her tapasya, or ascetic practice, was not just an act of love but a testament to her strength, a reminder that devotion is not weakness but a force capable of moving mountains. And indeed, it did. Her perseverance stirred something within Shiva, breaking through the layers of detachment he had built around himself. When he finally opened his eyes to her, he saw not just a beautiful woman but a soul as vast and powerful as his own. Their union was not merely a marriage, it was a cosmic event, a merging of energies that symbolized the eternal interplay of the masculine and feminine, destruction and creation, chaos and order. As Shiva's consort, Parvati took on many forms, each reflecting a facet of her boundless nature. She is Annapurna, the goddess who feeds the world, offering sustenance not only to the body but to the soul. She is Shakti, the primal energy that powers all existence, without whom even Shiva would remain inert. And yet, she is also the tender mother, cradling her children, both divine and mortal, with infinite care. One of the most poignant tales of Parvati's nurturing side unfolds in the story of her son, Ganesha. Created from the earth and her own essence, Ganesha was her child, her joy, her protector. When Shiva, unaware of his son's identity, struck him down in a moment of rage, it was Parvati's grief that shook the heavens. Her sorrow was not just a mother's anguish, but a force so powerful that it compelled the gods themselves to intervene. Through her pain, a lesson was etched into the cosmos: even the divine must bow to the power of love and compassion. But Parvati is not merely a figure of softness. Her devotion is fierce, her love a flame that burns away all falsehood. When Shiva's dance of destruction threatens to consume the world, it is Parvati who steps in, calming his fury with her touch, grounding his wild energies. Her strength is not loud or brash, it is the quiet, unyielding force that holds everything together. Parvati's love is a mirror in which we see the depths of human connection. She teaches that love is not passive, it is an active, dynamic force that requires courage, sacrifice, and resilience. It is in her devotion to Shiva that we find a model of partnership, not as a hierarchy but as a balance, where each uplifts and completes the other. Yet Parvati's essence goes beyond her role as a consort or mother. She is the goddess who walks with us in our most vulnerable moments, who understands the ache of longing, the weight of sacrifice, the joy of connection. She is there in the hands of a parent soothing a crying child, in the quiet resolve of someone standing by their loved one through hardships, and the unspoken bond that ties hearts together. In temples and homes across the world, Parvati is honored with offerings of flowers, fruits, and incense. But her true worship lies in acts of love and devotion, in the small, everyday gestures that speak of care and commitment. Her stories remind us that divinity is not distant or abstract. It is present in the relationships we nurture, the sacrifices we make, the love we give and receive. As the mountains bathe in the fading light of day, their peaks touched by the soft glow of the moon, one can almost feel her presence, a warmth that lingers, a reminder of the power of love to transform, to heal, to renew. Parvati's essence is not confined to myths or statues, it is a living force, as eternal and unshakable as the mountains that bore her. And just as her story flows seamlessly into that of Shiva, her nurturing side finds echoes in the tales of others, weaving a tapestry of divine love and devotion that stretches far beyond the boundaries of time. The flame of her devotion burns on, a beacon guiding us toward the next chapter, where the bonds of love take on new forms and meanings. The air trembled with tension, a palpable mix of fear and anticipation. The world had reached a breaking point, its balance teetering as forces of darkness surged unchecked. From the farthest corners of the cosmos to the smallest village on earth, cries for salvation rose in unison, prayers carried on the wind like whispers of desperation. The gods themselves, keepers of the universe, had been rendered powerless. Their weapons, once mighty, had failed against the relentless advance of Mahishasura, the demon king whose cunning and strength seemed insurmountable. Mahishasura was no ordinary foe. Born of both an Asura and a water buffalo, he carried within him a dangerous blend of intellect and brute force. Through years of penance, he had earned a boon from Brahma: no man or god could kill him. The arrogance of his newfound invincibility drove him to unleash chaos on a scale never before witnessed. His armies marched across the realms, destroying temples, desecrating sacred spaces, and reducing the heavens to a shadow of their former glory. The gods, once proud and unshakable, found themselves at a loss. Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, none could stand against the demon's might. The celestial council gathered, their faces etched with despair. It was then, in the stillness of their collective helplessness, that a single realization struck like lightning: the boon did not account for a woman. The gods had underestimated the power of feminine divinity, and it was now their only hope. From their collective energies, a radiant form emerged, blinding in her brilliance. She was Durga, born of fire and fury, a goddess forged from the essence of every deity combined. Her presence was overwhelming, an aura that demanded both reverence and awe. Her eyes burned with a purpose so fierce that even the most steadfast would quail before her gaze. She was beauty and terror intertwined, a paradox of grace and wrath. Each god stepped forward to arm her. Shiva bestowed his trident, Vishnu his discus, Brahma his water pot. From Indra came the thunderbolt, and from Agni, the flame. They gave her their best, their strongest, their most divine, knowing that in her hands, these weapons would find their true potential. mounted on her lion, a beast as ferocious as the goddess herself. She roared into the battlefield, her voice echoing across the realms like a call to arms. Mahishasura laughed when he saw her approach. He underestimated her, dismissing her as a woman blinded by misplaced courage. But Durga was no ordinary woman. She was the embodiment of Shakti, the primal force of creation and destruction. As the battle began, her every move was poetry in motion, deadly, deliberate, divine. The skies darkened as their fight raged on, a cosmic clash that shook the heavens and the earth. Mahishasura's armies came at her in waves, but Durga remained unyielding. With her trident, she pierced the hearts of demons. With her sword, she cut through their ranks. Her lion fought beside her, its roars mingling with the cries of her enemies. Mahishasura, realizing her power too late, resorted to his ultimate trick. He transformed into a buffalo, charging at her with unrelenting force. But Durga met him head-on, her form steady, her resolve unshaken. She struck with precision, pinning him down and severing his head with her trident in a single, decisive blow. The earth itself seemed to sigh in relief as the demon's blood spilled, its oppressive energy dissipating into nothingness. The moment was both triumphant and somber. Durga stood amidst the aftermath, her weapons gleaming, her form glowing with the light of 1,000 suns. She had restored balance, yet the scars of battle lingered in the silence around her. The gods descended, bowing in gratitude, their humility a stark contrast to the arrogance that had once clouded their judgment. Durga did not bask in their praise. Her mission was never about glory, it was about duty. Her strength lay not just in her ability to destroy, but in her unyielding commitment to protect the innocent, to stand as a barrier against the forces that sought to engulf the world in darkness. Her story does not end there, for Durga is eternal. She lives in every act of courage, and every moment where justice triumphs over tyranny. She is the warrior in every woman who fights against injustice, the strength that rises in the face of despair, the voice that refuses to be silenced. The world remembers her not just as a goddess, but as a force of nature, a symbol of resistance and resilience. Her presence lingers in the chants of devotees, and the flicker of a lamp lit in her honor, in the fearless hearts of those who stand against evil. And as the tale of her victory flows seamlessly into the next, one cannot help but feel her power, her fire, her love for the world she vows to protect. The battle may have ended, but the story continues, for evil never rests, and neither does Durga. The battlefield lay shrouded in a crimson haze, the earth soaked with blood, and the air heavy with despair. The forces of darkness had risen once more, demons so vile and relentless that even the heavens trembled at their advance. This was no ordinary threat. The Asuras, led by the monstrous Raktabija, seemed invincible. Each drop of his blood that touched the ground birthed another demon, an unending tide of chaos that threatened to engulf the cosmos. The gods, desperate and defeated, turned their pleading eyes to the one force they had not yet summoned, Kali. She was the shadow within the light, the fierce and untamed manifestation of Shakti, the primal feminine energy. Where Durga was majestic and commanding, Kali was raw and unapologetic, a force of nature that could not be contained or controlled. From Durga's brow, Kali emerged, a whirlwind of fury and power. Her form was terrifying yet mesmerizing, her dark skin glistening like obsidian under a blood-red sky. Her tongue flicked out, thirsting for vengeance, while her unbound hair flowed wildly, framing a face that was both beautiful and fearsome. Around her neck hung a garland of demon skulls, a testament to her unyielding might. In her many arms, she carried weapons of destruction, each glowing with the promise of annihilation. Kali descended onto the battlefield with a ferocity that stunned even the most battle-hardened warriors. She did not hesitate, did not pause. Her movements were swift, brutal, and absolute. With every strike, she consumed the demons before they could multiply. Her tongue swept across the ground, drinking the blood of Raktabija before it could touch the earth. She was destruction personified, a storm of rage and precision that left nothing in her wake. But beneath this terrifying exterior lay something deeper, something that many failed to see, a mother's love. Kali was not destruction for destruction's sake. Her rage stemmed from her need to protect, to preserve the balance of the universe and shield her children, the innocent, the vulnerable, from harm. She was a mother protecting her brood, and there was no force more unstoppable than that. As the battle wore on, Kali's intensity grew. Her dance of destruction shook the earth, her steps creating fissures that swallowed the remnants of evil. But as her fury reached its peak, she began to lose herself in the chaos. Her dance became wilder, her strikes more frenzied. The gods, watching from above, realized that the same force that had saved them could now destroy everything. It was then that Shiva, her eternal consort, intervened. Knowing Kali's dual nature, he lay down in her path, offering himself as the grounding force to her tempest. When her foot touched his chest, she froze. The realization of what she had almost done, of how close she had come to obliterating all she sought to protect, brought her back to herself. Her tongue, once a weapon of destruction, now protruded in shame and humility. This moment was more than an end to the battle, it was a revelation of who Kali truly was. She was not just the destroyer, she was the mother who destroyed only to protect. Her fury was born of love, her chaos rooted in compassion. She was the darkness that made the light shine brighter, the force that ensured life could flourish without the shadow of evil. Kali's devotees see her as both fearsome and nurturing. She is the goddess who demands absolute surrender, for she destroys the ego to reveal the soul. In her terrifying form, they find solace, knowing that she will protect them from the demons within and without. They chant her name with fervor, offer her blood-red hibiscus flowers, and surrender their fears at her feet, trusting her to guide them through the darkness. But Kali is not confined to temples or scriptures. She lives in every act of fearless love, and every moment where destruction leads to renewal. She is the mother who sacrifices for her children, the protector who stands guard against harm, the force that rages against injustice. Her story, like her dance, is endless, looping into the next battle, the next victory, the next transformation. And as the echoes of her war cries fade into the stillness, one can almost feel her presence lingering, a reminder that even in the fiercest storm, there lies an unbreakable bond of love, fierce and unyielding, between the protector and the protected. The world may forget, but Kali never does. She watches, waiting, ready to rise again when the darkness dares to return. The skies darkened with an eerie foreboding, as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. The waters of the world churned violently, swallowing the earth inch by inch. Rivers overflowed their banks, merging with oceans, and the once fertile lands were reduced to a desolate expanse of rising waves. The Great Flood had begun, an event destined to erase humanity, its creations, and all memory of its existence. But even in the face of annihilation, a faint glimmer of hope stirred within the cosmic order. It began with a single drop of water, not from the turbulent seas, but from the heavens themselves. That drop shimmered, pulsing with divine energy, and within it emerged a form so radiant, so majestic, it defied comprehension, a small, golden fish, its scales gleaming with an otherworldly light. This was Matsya, the first avatar of Vishnu, the preserver. Taking the form of a fish, Vishnu had descended to restore balance and protect the sanctity of creation. The choice of form was not random, it symbolized adaptability, survival, and the ability to navigate the depths of chaos. But why a fish, and why now? The answer lay in a humble man named Manu. Manu was a righteous soul, a sage whose devotion to Dharma had not gone unnoticed by the gods. One day, as Manu performed his morning rituals at the river, he cupped his hands to draw water. To his astonishment, a tiny fish slipped into his palms, shimmering like liquid gold. Before he could release it back into the river, the fish spoke in a voice that was both commanding and gentle. "Protect me," it said, "and I will protect you in return." Manu, though bewildered, recognized the divine in this extraordinary moment. He carefully placed the fish in a clay pot and carried it home. But by the next morning, the fish had outgrown the pot. Manu transferred it to a larger tank, then to a pond, and eventually to a lake. Yet, no matter how vast the waters, the fish continued to grow, its golden body now spanning the horizon. It was then that Matsya revealed his true form and purpose. The great flood is coming, the divine fish warned. It will consume the world and all life within it. But you, Manu, have been chosen to preserve the seeds of life and the wisdom of the ages. Build a massive boat and gather the creatures of the earth, the plants, and the sacred scriptures. When the time comes, I will guide you to safety. Manu worked tirelessly, driven by faith and the urgency of the impending disaster. The boat he constructed was no ordinary vessel. It was vast, sturdy, and built to endure the wrath of the elements. As the rains began to fall, Manu gathered pairs of animals, seeds of plants, and the sacred Vedas, ensuring that the essence of creation would not be lost. The flood came as foretold, a deluge so relentless it drowned mountains and extinguished the sun. Manu's boat was adrift in an endless ocean, buffeted by towering waves and violent winds. But true to his promise, Matsya appeared, now colossal and majestic, his form radiating divine light amidst the storm. A serpent, Vasuki, was tied as a rope to the boat, and Matsya pulled it through the chaos, guiding Manu and his precious cargo to safety. As the floodwaters raged on, Manu gazed in awe at Matsya, who swam with grace and determination. The fish's actions were not merely an act of preservation but a lesson. Creation, Matsya seemed to convey, must be protected at all costs, for it is fragile and fleeting. Yet, even in the face of destruction, there lies the potential for renewal, for life to begin anew. For days and nights, the boat drifted, until the floodwaters began to recede. Matsya led Manu to the highest peak, where the boat came to rest. As the first rays of the sun broke through the clouds, the earth was reborn, cleansed and renewed. Manu, standing on the mountain with the seeds of life in his hands, realized the enormity of his role. He was not just a man but the father of a new age, entrusted with the continuity of creation. Matsya's mission was complete, yet his presence lingered in the hearts of all who heard his tale. He was more than a savior, he was a reminder of Vishnu's infinite compassion and the delicate balance of existence. Matsya's form may have been simple, a fish in a vast ocean, but his actions carried the weight of the universe. And so, the legend of Matsya became eternal, carried forward in the whispers of rivers, the roar of oceans, and the quiet resilience of life itself. Somewhere, in the depths of every water body, it is said, Matsya's essence still swims, watching over the world, ready to rise again should chaos dare to threaten creation. The flood was not just an end, it was a beginning, a testament to the unbreakable bond between divinity and humanity. The heavens trembled, and the earth groaned beneath the weight of an ancient, cosmic struggle. The Devas and Asuras, long rivals, had come to an agreement, a churning of the ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, Amrita. But the task was not as simple as it sounded. The ocean, vast and unyielding, was no ordinary body of water. It was a force of chaos and confusion, an untapped power waiting to be controlled, its depths teeming with both treasures and dangers. The Devas and Asuras gathered their strength, each side hoping to claim the Amrita as their own. They had created a mighty churning rod, the Mount Mandara, to serve as the center of their effort. But when they attempted to use the serpent Vasuki as the churning rope, the mountain began to sink into the ocean, unable to support the weight and intensity of the task. The ocean, seemingly endless and immovable, began to swallow the mount, threatening to undo all their efforts. It was in this moment of impasse that the earth shook once more, not with the rumblings of nature, but with the voice of a deity who had witnessed the struggle. From the depths of the cosmic waters, the form of Kurm emerged, the great tortoise, an avatar of Vishnu, revered for its steadfastness, stability, and ability to bear the weight of the world itself. Kurm, with a slow and purposeful grace, ascended from the ocean, his great shell bearing the weight of Mount Mandara. With the firm foundation of Kurm beneath the churning mountain, the gods and demons could finally resume their task. Kurm, in his quiet strength, held the mountain steady, a silent, unshakable force beneath the chaos of the churning. His massive form, large enough to cradle the world on his back, was a symbol of patience and endurance. While the churning continued with all its ferocity, it was Kurm's unwavering support that made it possible. The gods and demons worked tirelessly, each pulling and pushing the serpent rope, trying to extract the nectar of immortality from the ocean's depths. As the churning progressed, the ocean gave forth its treasures, jewels, divine beings, and miraculous objects, yet the true prize, the Amrita, remained elusive. The ocean itself seemed to be a reflection of the struggle between the forces of light and darkness, creation and destruction, good and evil. And through it all, Kurm remained unshaken, his shell an enduring reminder of the importance of balance and stability in times of chaos. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The churning continued, and the ocean began to reveal more of its secrets. Among the treasures that surfaced, one stood out, the wish-fulfilling tree, the goddess Lakshmi, and the divine nectar of immortality itself. Yet, even in the face of this divine prize, Kurm remained humble, his role in the great churning never seeking recognition. He was the foundation, the unheralded hero, whose quiet support made all things possible. Finally, when the Amrita emerged, both the gods and demons saw their efforts reach their peak. Yet, it was not the churning alone that had made this possible, it was Kurm's strength and patience, his willingness to bear the burden of the cosmos with no expectation of reward. His role was not to claim the Amrita, but to ensure that it could be obtained, that creation could continue, and that the balance of the universe remained intact. Kurm's story is not just a tale of the churning ocean. It is a reflection of the qualities that hold the universe together: strength, patience, humility, and the quiet, unshakable support that often goes unnoticed but is always essential. The great tortoise, with his vast shell and unwavering determination, teaches that sometimes the greatest contributions come not from grand gestures but from the silent, steadfast support that keeps the world turning. As Kurm returned to the depths of the ocean, his mission complete, his legacy remained. He did not seek glory or adoration, his role was not in the limelight but in the foundational support of the universe. The world continued, the Amrita was shared, and the churning became a distant memory. But in the quiet ripples of the ocean, it is said that Kurm's form still lingers, ever patient, ever steady, waiting for the next moment when the world will need him to rise once again. The universe had descended into a state of utter chaos. The very fabric of creation seemed to unravel, and the forces of darkness, led by the demon Hiranyaksha, had taken their toll on the earth. The demon had dragged the very planet itself into the cosmic ocean, submerging it beneath the waters, far beyond the reach of the gods. The earth, once a vibrant sphere of life, was now nothing more than an island lost in a vast, endless sea. There was no place for life to thrive, no breath to be drawn from a once hopeful world. The heavens themselves felt the weight of this calamity. The gods, unable to intervene directly, felt the cold grip of helplessness tighten around them. The balance of the universe was threatened, and all of creation trembled on the brink of annihilation. The demon's triumph over the earth was complete, and it seemed as though nothing could save the world from its watery grave. But within the stillness of the heavens, there was a stirring, a divine movement that would bring forth hope in the form of Vishnu, the preserver, whose compassion and power knew no bounds. In a world on the verge of destruction, he appeared once more, not as a towering figure, but in the form of a mighty boar, Varaha. The world watched as the great boar emerged from the cosmic ocean, his massive body breaking the surface like a thunderclap. His eyes glowed with the intensity of 1,000 stars, and his tusks gleamed with the promise of divine retribution. With a roar that echoed through the heavens, Varaha descended upon the vast waters that had consumed the earth, his strength unmatched by any force. The demon Hiranyaksha, whose pride had led him to take the earth, saw the great boar charging toward him. He laughed, mocking the divine figure who dared to challenge him. "What can a mere animal do against my power?" the demon sneered. But Varaha was not just any creature, he was the incarnation of Vishnu, the source of all strength and righteousness. And in that moment, Hiranyaksha would learn the true meaning of cosmic justice. The battle between Varaha and Hiranyaksha was fierce. The demon fought with all his might, but his strength was no match for the divine boar. With each powerful thrust of Varaha's tusks, the demon was driven back, and the earth trembled beneath the weight of their struggle. The cosmic waters churned, splashing violently, as if the very elements themselves were rooting for the boar's victory. Finally, with a swift and decisive strike, Varaha pierced Hiranyaksha's heart. The demon, defeated and broken, fell into the abyss of the ocean. And with his defeat, the earth was freed from its watery prison. Varaha, holding the earth between his tusks, rose from the depths, emerging from the cosmic ocean with the world safe and secure. As the boar's mighty form rose from the waters, the earth, once again, began to breathe. Life began to return to its surface, the waters receding as the very foundation of creation was restored. The mountains stood tall again, rivers began to flow, and the trees once more reached for the skies. It was as if the earth itself had been reborn, cleansed of the darkness that had threatened to engulf it. Varaha's victory was not just a triumph of physical strength, it was the victory of divine righteousness over the forces of chaos. The boar had restored the balance of the universe, reminding all of creation that no force, no matter how powerful, could ever defeat the cosmic order. The earth, protected by Vishnu in the form of Varaha, had been saved from destruction, and the world could now continue its eternal dance of creation and renewal. As Varaha placed the earth back on its rightful place in the universe, he did not seek applause or recognition. His task was complete. The world was safe once again, and the cycle of life would continue. His form, though that of a simple boar, carried within it the very essence of the divine, the unwavering strength, the unyielding justice, and the eternal protection of creation itself. In the quiet moments after the battle, as the earth settled back into its rightful place, it is said that the great boar disappeared into the cosmic waters, leaving behind only the faintest ripples. His work was done. Yet, the story of Varaha would be told for generations to come, a tale of strength, courage, and the power of the divine to protect and restore what was lost. And in the stillness of the earth, one could almost hear the echo of the boar's roar, a reminder that no matter the odds, no matter how dark the world may become, there will always be a force of goodness, waiting to rise and protect the earth when it is needed most. The cosmic waters could never again drown creation, for Varaha's victory ensured that the earth would always find its way back to the light. It was a night like no other, a night that marked the end of a reign of terror, a night that would forever echo in the hearts of all who heard the tale. In the depths of the kingdom of the demon king Hiranyakashipu, an air of fear and malice hung thick. For years, the tyrant had ruled with an iron fist, his every command obeyed without question. His arrogance knew no bounds, he believed himself to be invincible, immortal, beyond the reach of any force, divine or mortal. But his pride, as with all things born of arrogance, was about to be shattered. Hiranyakashipu's cruelty had no end. He demanded worship from all, declaring himself to be the supreme deity, to be revered above all gods. The world, it seemed, had bent to his will, except for one. His own son, Prahlada, a young boy of pure heart and unwavering devotion, refused to worship the king. Instead, Prahlada gave his love and devotion to Vishnu, the very god Hiranyakashipu despised. This single act of defiance, a spark of unwavering faith, set the stage for a cosmic confrontation that would change everything. The king, enraged by his son's refusal to bend before him, subjected Prahlada to unimaginable torments, hoping to break his spirit. He ordered his servants to throw the boy into fires, to stamp on him with elephants, and to poison him, but nothing could harm him. Prahlada was protected by a force greater than anything Hiranyakashipu could comprehend. Each time the boy faced death, his faith in Vishnu grew stronger, and his resilience became a beacon of hope to all who heard his story. Hiranyakashipu, consumed by fury and jealousy, turned to the most despicable of actions. He summoned his darkest powers and sought to silence Vishnu once and for all. Yet, despite all his might, the king could not quell the tide of devotion that Prahlada had ignited. The more he tried to extinguish it, the brighter it shone. It was then that Vishnu, in his infinite wisdom and boundless compassion, decided that the time had come to intervene. The earth had reached a tipping point. Hiranyakashipu's pride, his blasphemy, and his unrelenting cruelty had brought him to the precipice of his own destruction. And from this precipice, Vishnu would emerge, not as a god, but in the form of a creature unlike anything the world had ever seen. He would come as Narasimha, the man-lion, to put an end to the demon's reign of terror. The air grew thick with tension as the day of reckoning arrived. Hiranyakashipu sat upon his throne, oblivious to the storm that was about to descend upon him. His arrogance and ego clouded his vision, and he believed that no one, no god, no force, could touch him. But in the darkness of the palace, a strange feeling began to stir. It was a ripple in the fabric of reality, a shift that sent a chill down the king's spine. Suddenly, before his very eyes, a form began to take shape. It was neither fully man nor fully beast, but something in between, a terrifying, awe-inspiring fusion of the two. The figure emerged from the shadows with a growl that reverberated through the very air, shaking the palace walls. Narasimha, the man-lion, had arrived. With the body of a man and the head of a lion, Narasimha's form was monstrous and divine all at once. His eyes burned with the fury of the cosmos, and his claws, sharp as daggers, gleamed with an otherworldly light. He stood tall, a perfect embodiment of both strength and grace. And in that moment, all of Hiranyakashipu's bravado faltered. The king, now face to face with the avatar of Vishnu, was filled with disbelief. How could this be? The prophecy had said that no man or beast could defeat him, yet here stood something that was both. He was cornered, unable to escape, his pride crumbling beneath the weight of his own arrogance. Narasimha's presence was undeniable. This was the divine force he could not withstand. The two locked eyes, and the battle that followed was not just a physical confrontation, it was the embodiment of cosmic justice. Narasimha's roar split the heavens, and with every step, the palace trembled. Hiranyakashipu, in his final moments, fought desperately to save himself, but he knew, deep down, that his time had come. His heart pounded in terror as Narasimha moved toward him with unrelenting purpose. In one swift motion, Narasimha leaped upon the demon king, his claws raking through the air with terrifying precision. The battle was over before it truly began. The lion-headed figure tore into Hiranyakashipu, his immense power a force that could not be stopped. But what made the victory all the more profound was not the bloodshed or the violence, it was the ultimate act of divine justice. Hiranyakashipu, the tyrant who had brought suffering and fear to countless lives, was destroyed not by the will of any single god or being, but by the very cosmic laws he had defied. Vishnu, in the form of Narasimha, had shown that no matter how mighty or arrogant one may be, there is a power far greater than any king's pride. A force that cannot be swayed by threats, lies, or violence, a force that comes in the form of justice, to right the wrongs of the universe. And as the demon king lay defeated, Prahlada, the devoted child, looked upon the scene with awe and reverence. The earth, now rid of the dark cloud that had hovered over it, was once again a place where goodness and righteousness could flourish. Vishnu's avatar had come to save not just a single soul, but to restore the cosmic balance. With Narasimha's appearance, the forces of darkness were defeated, and the world was once again safe. The roar of the man-lion, a sound that echoed through the heavens and earth alike, marked the end of a reign of terror and the beginning of a new dawn, one that would forever remember the divine intervention that freed the world from evil's grip. The earth trembled with the heavy footsteps of a demon king whose arrogance knew no bounds. Bali, the ruler of the demons, had grown powerful, so powerful that even the gods themselves feared him. His might had reached a point where he believed there was no force in the universe that could challenge his dominion. He had defeated all who stood before him, his rule extending beyond the earthly realm, into the heavens themselves. But Bali's pride was not just in his strength, it was in his generosity. A king who, with great pride, offered gifts to anyone who asked, regardless of their standing. He had pleased the gods and sages with his offerings, and yet, despite all his charity, his spirit was tinged with a dangerous arrogance. He believed he could outwit the divine order, that no power could ever strip him of his triumph. His pride, like that of many before him, would soon become his undoing. The gods watched from their celestial abodes, helpless to stop Bali's expansion. It seemed as though no power on earth or in the heavens could bring him down, and the balance of the universe was in jeopardy. The great god Vishnu, ever watchful, saw the growing threat. The time had come for his intervention. Yet, Vishnu knew that he could not simply confront Bali with brute force. To defeat the demon king, he needed to teach him a lesson in humility, one that would resonate through the ages. And so, Vishnu took on the form of a humble, unassuming dwarf, a form so inconspicuous, so small, that no one would ever suspect the force of divinity behind it. This avatar, known as Vamana, was not meant to strike with sword or fire, but to challenge Bali in a way the king would never expect. A challenge that would show Bali the true measure of his pride. Vamana arrived at Bali's court, his tiny form dwarfed by the massive throne and the imposing demon king himself. Bali, seated high upon his throne, looked down at the dwarf with amusement. He was used to receiving guests of all sizes, and so the sight of the tiny Vamana did not frighten him. Instead, Bali smiled and beckoned the dwarf to speak. "What brings you to my kingdom, little one?" Bali asked, his voice filled with condescension. Vamana, with an innocence that only the gods could possess, bowed respectfully before Bali and answered, "I seek nothing more than a simple gift, O mighty king. I ask for a piece of land, only as much as I can cover with 3 steps." Bali's laughter boomed through the hall. A dwarf asking for as little as 3 paces of land? It was a trivial request, one that seemed beneath the great king. But his pride and generosity compelled him to grant the request, for what harm could it cause to give such a small thing to someone so insignificant? "I will grant you your wish, dwarf," Bali said. "Ask for whatever you want, and it shall be yours." With a humble nod, Vamana accepted the gift. But what Bali did not know, what no one in the court could foresee, was that this seemingly innocent request would soon lead to the king's downfall. For Vamana, in that moment, was not just a humble dwarf, he was Vishnu himself, and he had come to teach Bali a lesson that would echo through the ages. In an instant, the earth shook once more. Vamana began to grow, his form expanding, rising taller and taller until he towered over the entire court. Bali's eyes widened in shock as he realized the true identity of the dwarf before him. This was no ordinary beggar. This was a god in disguise, a force of nature far beyond his comprehension. Vamana's first step stretched across the heavens, his footfall shaking the very foundations of the cosmos. With his second step, he crossed the earth, covering the land in an instant. The sheer power of these steps was enough to send waves of fear through the demon king's heart. He had been fooled by his own pride, tricked into underestimating the god before him. But it was with the third step that Vamana's true power became apparent. Bali, realizing his mistake, offered his own head as the place for the final step, acknowledging the consequences of his arrogance. He had no choice but to submit, for the laws of the universe could not be defied. Vamana's third step brought the heavens themselves under control. The gods watched in awe as the king of the demons was subdued, not by brute force, but by his own hubris. The lesson was clear: no matter how mighty one might be, humility and the will of the divine would always prevail. In that moment, Bali's pride was shattered. The very ground he stood upon seemed to crumble beneath him. Vamana, the dwarf, had humbled the greatest of kings, and in doing so, restored balance to the universe. Bali, now defeated but wiser, surrendered his kingdom to the gods and bowed his head before Vishnu in his true form. Vishnu's appearance as Vamana did not just defeat a demon king, it transformed him. Bali's once unshakable pride was broken, and in its place, he learned the power of humility. Though his rule ended, his story lived on as a reminder to all who heard it: the greatest of kings, no matter how mighty, could fall if they allowed pride to cloud their judgment. And so, as Vamana's form returned to its original size, and the lands were once again set in harmony, the world was left to ponder the true meaning of power. It was not in the size of one's form, nor in the vastness of one's dominion, but in the heart, humble, pure, and open to the will of the cosmos, that true strength resided. The sound of an axe slicing through the air was unmistakable, sharp and rhythmic, like a heartbeat that echoed through the forest. It was a sound that carried with it both the promise of destruction and the hope of rebirth. In the midst of this wilderness, where trees rose high and the air was thick with the scent of earth and foliage, there stood a man, his figure strong, his posture resolute, and in his hands, the weapon that would forever define his name, the axe. Parshurama, the warrior with the axe, had emerged from the depths of legend, his story one of fierce justice, relentless determination, and a mission that would shape the course of history. a man whose life was bound by a single purpose, to rid the earth of rulers whose tyranny had corrupted the very essence of Dharma, the divine order. But Parshurama's origins were as complex as the very task he had taken upon himself. Born to a sage, he was not a warrior by nature. His path was one of peace, of spiritual devotion, and of wisdom. Yet, as with many stories of great change, it was tragedy that transformed him. His father, a revered sage, had been humiliated by a king, a ruler whose arrogance had crossed all boundaries. The king, Kartavirya Arjuna, was a man of immense power and pride, whose cruelty had become a blight upon the land. The sage, a man of peace and compassion, had been wronged in a way that could not be ignored. His son, Parshurama, though trained in the ways of the forest and the arts of meditation, was not one to stand by in silence when injustice reigned. He witnessed the heart-wrenching suffering of his father, and in that moment, something within him snapped. A fire ignited in his chest, a rage that burned not out of hatred, but out of a deep desire to restore balance, to right the wrongs that had been committed. In the solitude of the forest, Parshurama called upon the gods, invoking their power to arm him for the task at hand. And from the heavens, a divine weapon was bestowed upon him, a mighty axe, forged by the gods themselves, as a symbol of his purpose. With this axe, Parshurama was no longer just a son seeking vengeance, he was a divine agent of change, chosen to restore Dharma by striking down those who had forgotten their duty to the people. The moment Parshurama took up the axe, the world seemed to hold its breath. His once peaceful nature, tempered by the wisdom of his father, had now been replaced by the fierce determination of a warrior whose cause was just. The earth trembled beneath his feet as he set off on his mission. With every strike, the tyrannical rulers who had plagued the land began to fall, one by one, unable to withstand the power of a man who was both god and warrior in his pursuit of justice. The stories of Parshurama's wrath spread like wildfire. His name became a symbol of the reckoning that awaited those who ruled with cruelty and oppression. His axe did not discriminate, it struck down kings, warriors, and demons alike, for Parshurama was not bound by the limits of human laws. He was driven by a higher cause, to restore the balance that had been so violently disrupted. And yet, even as he slew one tyrant after another, there was a part of Parshurama that felt the weight of his actions. His heart, though fierce in its desire for justice, bore the burden of the lives he had taken. Each swing of his axe was not just an act of destruction, but a painful reminder of the cost of his mission. The blood that stained his hands was not just that of his enemies, but also the weight of a world that had fallen out of harmony. In the aftermath of his vengeance, Parshurama looked upon the land he had purified, and yet, something within him was unsettled. He had succeeded in his mission to rid the earth of oppressive rulers, but the cycle of violence had not been broken. It seemed as though each time one tyrant fell, another would rise in their place. The world, it seemed, was caught in an endless loop of suffering and redemption. And so, Parshurama withdrew from the world, retreating into the mountains, seeking solace in meditation. Though he had rid the earth of its oppressive rulers, the pain of his journey remained with him. He had fulfilled his mission, but at what cost? The axe that had once symbolized justice now felt like a burden, a reminder of the destruction he had wrought in the name of balance. But the legend of Parshurama did not fade with his retreat. His story lived on, not as a tale of unrelenting violence, but as a reminder of the delicate balance between justice and vengeance. He became a symbol not only of the wrath of a god, but also of the complexity of the human soul, capable of great acts of righteousness, yet burdened by the weight of those actions. As the years passed, Parshurama's name remained etched in the annals of history. His mission was complete, yet the lessons of his life continued to resonate. For in his quest to rid the world of tyrants, he had shown that the path of justice is not always clear, and that even the most righteous of warriors must reckon with the consequences of their actions. In the end, Parshurama was not just a warrior with an axe, he was a man who had sought to restore the balance of the universe. His story is not one of blind rage, but of the painful, often heart-wrenching choices that come with the pursuit of righteousness. And though the world may have forgotten the tyrants he slew, it will always remember the warrior who walked the line between destruction and creation, between justice and vengeance. with an axe in his hand and the weight of the world on his shoulders. The air was thick with anticipation, as though the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for a moment of truth. It was the kind of silence that comes just before a storm, yet in this case, the storm was not one of chaos and destruction, it was one of righteousness and virtue, a storm that would shape the fate of an entire kingdom. Rama, the prince of Ayodhya, stood at the precipice of his destiny, the weight of his lineage and his kingdom resting heavily on his shoulders. He was not just a man, he was the ideal king, the embodiment of dharma, truth, justice, and honor. In his eyes, there was no room for deceit, no space for moral compromise. His heart, pure and unwavering, knew only one path, the path of righteousness. But even as he stood there, dressed in the finest silks, his bow in hand, ready to embark on what would become his legendary journey, there was a whisper that stirred in the air, a whisper of doubt, of uncertainty. How could one man, no matter how noble, face the immense trials that were soon to come? The story of Rama's life was not one of privilege without consequence, nor was it a tale of an easy reign. His was a path filled with sacrifices, each step forward marred by heartbreak, betrayal, and the deepest of losses. But in his heart, there was no room for weakness. He had been raised to be the perfect king, the kind of ruler who would never falter, no matter the odds. It was not just a duty to him, it was the very essence of his being. The turning point came swiftly, like a cruel twist of fate. Rama was the eldest son of King Dashratha, the rightful heir to the throne of Ayodhya, beloved by his people and respected by all who knew him. The kingdom had flourished under his father's reign, and the people rejoiced at the prospect of Rama ascending to the throne. He was a warrior, a statesman, and a man of great wisdom and compassion. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. In a cruel turn of events, Rama's stepmother, Kaikeyi, driven by ambition and jealousy, conspired to have her own son, Bharata, crowned king instead. She demanded that Rama be exiled to the forest for 14 years, a punishment that would break even the strongest of hearts. Rama, ever obedient to his father's command, accepted his fate without question, even though it meant leaving behind the comforts of the palace, the love of his life, Sita, and the throne he had so rightfully earned. The day Rama left Ayodhya was a day etched in the memories of all who witnessed it. The city, which had once rejoiced in the promise of his kingship, was now plunged into sorrow. The streets, once vibrant with life, were now somber and quiet. The people of Ayodhya, who had known nothing but peace under Rama's presence, now faced a future filled with uncertainty. The king was gone, and with him, the hope of a prosperous reign. As Rama ventured into the forest, his heart was heavy, but his resolve was unshakable. His exile was not a punishment, it was a test that would define him, a test that would show the world that even the most painful of sacrifices could be made for the greater good. He was not merely a prince, he was the protector of Dharma, a living testament to the idea that righteousness must come before all else. In the forest, Rama was not alone. He was accompanied by his devoted wife, Sita, and his loyal brother, Lakshmana. Together, they faced the trials of the wilderness, but even in the heart of the forest, Rama's character shone through. His kindness to the creatures of the forest, his unwavering sense of justice, and his refusal to ever compromise on what was right made him a beacon of hope in a world that seemed to have forgotten what true virtue looked like. But no matter how pure his heart, no matter how steadfast his resolve, Rama's journey was far from easy. The very forces of darkness that sought to destroy the world's balance would soon test him in ways he could never have imagined. And the greatest test of all came when Sita, the love of his life, was kidnapped by the demon king Ravana, setting off a chain of events that would change the course of Rama's life forever. The pain of losing Sita, of being separated from the woman he loved more than life itself, was unimaginable. But Rama's heart did not break out of weakness. It broke because of love, a love so deep that it transcended the boundaries of earthly existence. His love for Sita was not just a personal feeling, it was a divine bond that connected him to the very forces of the universe. And so, Rama set out on a quest to rescue her, a quest that would test every ounce of his strength, his wisdom, and his unwavering sense of right and wrong. Through battles, through betrayals, and through loss, Rama never wavered from his path. Even in the face of death, even when all seemed lost, he stood firm, as if the very forces of nature were bound by his will. The gods themselves took notice of Rama's devotion, his commitment to his dharma, and his refusal to yield to the forces of evil. But the battle against Ravana was not just a physical one. It was a battle for the soul of the universe, a battle that would test the very nature of what it meant to be a king, to be a man, to be divine. In the final confrontation, when Rama faced Ravana on the battlefield, it was not just a fight for Sita. It was a fight for the very idea of dharma, for the concept of good triumphing over evil, for the belief that no matter the darkness that surrounds us, the light of righteousness will always shine through. When Rama finally defeated Ravana, the world rejoiced. But even in victory, Rama's heart remained heavy. The cost of his journey had been great, and the sacrifices he had made would stay with him forever. Sita, after her rescue, was put to the test once again, as doubts about her purity arose. Rama, though heartbroken, upheld his duty as a king, a duty that required him to make choices that would be questioned by many. But in the end, it was Rama's unwavering commitment to dharma that defined him. He was not just a man, but a king whose every action was a reflection of the ideals of truth, honor, and duty. His story was one of sacrifice, of love, and of the never-ending pursuit of what is right. Rama, the perfect king, was a beacon of what it meant to live a life guided by righteousness, no matter the trials or heartache that came with it. His story would echo through the ages, a timeless reminder that the path of virtue is not always easy, but it is always worth walking. The night sky shimmered with stars, each one a spark of divinity in the cosmic dance of the universe. On a moonlit night in the village of Gokul, there was a sound that echoed across the landscape, a sound so pure and captivating that it seemed to stop time itself. It was the enchanting melody of a flute, a sound that resonated deep within the hearts of all who heard it, stirring something ancient and primal within their souls. And from the center of the sound, there stood a figure, a young boy, draped in the simplest of clothes, yet his presence was undeniable. His eyes, full of mischief and joy, shone brighter than the moon itself. He was Krishna. To look at Krishna was to behold an enigma, a being who embodied every emotion and every contradiction that the human heart could bear. He was divine, yet he walked among mortals, laughing, playing, and living as though he were one of them. But there was more to him than met the eye. Krishna was not just a god, he was the very essence of life itself, playful, wise, loving, and yet capable of wielding unimaginable power when the need arose. He was the divine charmer, the one who captivated the hearts of gods and mortals alike. Krishna's story began in the dark hours of the night, under the weight of a prophecy that hung over his family like a storm cloud. Born to Vasudeva and Devaki, Krishna's birth was one that defied the very laws of nature. For Devki's brother, the tyrannical King Kamsa, had been warned that the eighth child born to Devaki would be his destroyer. Fearing for his life, Kamsa imprisoned his sister and her husband, determined to kill each of their children as soon as they were born. But fate had other plans. On the night of Krishna's birth, as Devaki gave birth in the prison cell, the heavens themselves rejoiced. A divine light filled the sky, and Krishna emerged, not as a helpless infant, but as a being of pure power and grace. To protect him, his father Vasudeva carried the newborn Krishna across a flooded river to the safety of the village of Gokul. It was there, in the heart of a humble cowherd community, that Krishna would grow up, beloved by all who met him. From the moment Krishna took his first steps, he enchanted everyone around him. His mischievous nature and boundless energy were a constant source of joy for the people of Gokul. He would steal butter from the homes of the villagers, his eyes twinkling with delight as he was caught in the act, yet always managing to escape with a charming smile. He played with the young girls of Gokul, his flute's melodies weaving a spell of love and devotion, and they would follow him, enchanted by his music, lost in his gaze. But Krishna's charm was not merely in his appearance or his playful demeanor, it was in his very essence. There was something about him, something that made you believe, even for a moment, that the world was a far more beautiful and magical place than you had ever known. But Krishna's role as the divine charmer was not limited to the carefree days of childhood. As he grew older, the world around him began to take notice of his true nature, the depths of his power, and the purpose for which he had come to earth. He was not just a playful god, he was the supreme being, the incarnation of Vishnu, sent to rid the world of evil and restore balance. His charm was not just for fun, it was a tool, a means by which he could reach the hearts of those around him and guide them on the path of righteousness. One of the most famous tales of Krishna's divine charm occurred when he played his flute to calm the raging storm sent by the demon king Kamsa. Krishna's power was unparalleled, yet it was not through brute force that he overcame his enemies. Instead, he relied on his divine presence, his ability to inspire devotion and love in all who encountered him. Even the very forces of nature seemed to bend to his will. As Krishna's life unfolded, his charm only deepened, and his role as the protector of Dharma became ever clearer. He was a friend to the innocent, a protector of the oppressed, and a guide to the lost. But it was during the great war of Kurukshetra, where Krishna's divine purpose was fully realized, that his true greatness shone. It was there, on the battlefield, that Krishna revealed his true form to his beloved disciple Arjuna. In the heart of the war, where blood was being shed and brothers were fighting against brothers, Krishna stepped forward, not as a warrior, but as the divine charioteer. He spoke to Arjuna, his words resonating in the very depths of the warrior's soul, guiding him through the darkest of moments. Krishna's teachings to Arjuna on the battlefield were not just about strategy or war, they were about life itself. They were about the nature of duty, the importance of selflessness, and the path to spiritual liberation. Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita would become a beacon of wisdom, lighting the way for millions of souls who sought answers to the eternal questions of life. Yet, even as Krishna revealed his divine nature, his charm never waned. His playful, mischievous spirit remained, as did his capacity to love without judgment. He would always have time for his devotees, for those who sought him with a pure heart. His love was unconditional, a love that transcended the boundaries of the physical world and reached into the hearts of all who called upon him. In the end, Krishna's life was a story of love and sacrifice, of duty and devotion. He was the divine charmer who held the world in his hands, yet he never allowed that power to corrupt his heart. He was a god who lived among mortals, teaching them the values of compassion, love, and righteousness. His charm was not a mere superficial allure, it was the very essence of the divine, a force that bound the universe together in harmony. Krishna's legacy, as the divine charmer, lives on in the hearts of all who seek his guidance. His teachings, his love, and his divine presence continue to inspire millions, reminding them that even in the darkest of times, the light of love and righteousness will always shine through. The world had sunk into a dark abyss. A vast ocean, as endless as the night itself, swallowed the lands, drowning the hopes of the living. The earth had been submerged, no longer a place for humans or gods, but a forgotten, lifeless expanse floating in the cosmic sea. It was a world that seemed beyond saving, lost in the overwhelming force of destruction. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was a stir, a tremor in the very fabric of the universe. From the depths of the ocean rose a figure, majestic and powerful, yet unexpected. It was not a god of grandeur, nor a being of divine perfection, but a creature unlike any other. A boar, mighty, unyielding, with tusks that gleamed like the very stars. This was Varaha, the third incarnation of Vishnu, the divine preserver. And he had come to rescue the earth. The earth, personified as the goddess Bhudevi, had been taken to the depths by the demon Hiranyaksha. With his brute strength, Hiranyaksha had cast the earth into the cosmic ocean, desiring to drown her, to claim her as his own. No one could stop him. The gods were powerless, the heavens silent, and the universe seemed to hold its breath as the goddess of earth vanished beneath the waves. But Vishnu, in his compassion and commitment to restoring balance, would not allow this. As the oceans raged and the earth trembled, Vishnu's resolve took form. He descended as Varaha, a boar of immense size and power, a form that would be both unexpected and unstoppable. Varaha plunged into the vast ocean, his body cutting through the waters with the strength of 1,000 storms. The earth, trapped in the watery depths, trembled with fear, but a sense of hope flickered within her. Varaha's arrival meant salvation, a promise that the earth would not be forsaken, that she would rise once more from the depths. With each stroke of his powerful legs, Varha pushed through the endless waters, his nostrils flaring with the effort. He searched for the earth, for the goddess who had been swallowed whole by the ocean's fury. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, he found her, buried deep in the cosmic waters, a ball of earth and soil that had lost its place in the heavens. But Varha did not hesitate. He lowered his mighty tusks and, with the strength of the cosmos itself, he lifted the earth from the water. It was an act of pure devotion, of love for the goddess, a love so deep that it defied the laws of nature itself. The earth, once lost and submerged, was now raised on the tusks of the divine boar, brought back to her rightful place in the cosmos. The weight of the world rested on Varha's shoulders as he carried it through the sky, his immense body soaring through the heavens. The earth, now bathed in the light of the stars, glistened with new life. The ocean's hold had been broken, and the earth was free once more, resting on the back of the divine boar who had saved her. But Varha's victory was not merely one of strength, it was one of compassion. His form, though fierce and powerful, was a symbol of the balance between destruction and creation, between the cosmic order and chaos. He had defeated Hiranyaksha, but in doing so, he had not destroyed, he had restored. The earth was not merely lifted from the waters, she was given a new chance to flourish, to live and breathe once more. As Varha returned the earth to her rightful place in the universe, he stood as a reminder of the power of love and devotion in the face of overwhelming adversity. He was the protector of the earth, the embodiment of Vishnu's role as the preserver, and his act of rescue became a testament to the divine promise that no matter how far the world might fall, it would always be saved. In the end, Varha's victory was not just one of strength or might, it was a victory of hope. It was a message to all who faced darkness, to all who thought they had been swallowed by the depths, that no matter how deep the waters, the light of salvation would always shine through. For Varha had shown that even in the most desperate of moments, the divine was there, lifting the world from the chaos and restoring it to its rightful place in the universe. And as the earth settled back into its cosmic orbit, there was a sense of peace, a reminder that, no matter the storm, the divine would always rise to protect what is sacred. The world as we know it was not meant to last forever. The cycle of time spins relentlessly, and with each passing era, the weight of human actions, greed, violence, dishonesty, has grown heavier, pushing the earth closer to the edge. In every corner of existence, darkness spreads like wildfire, tainting everything it touches. The cosmic balance that once held everything in harmony teeters on the brink of collapse. In the air, there is a sense of impending doom, something dark, inevitable, waiting to break free. But in the midst of this turmoil, there is a whisper. A promise carried through the ancient winds, one that has been passed down through ages and will echo through time until the moment arrives. It is the prophecy of Kalki, the future savior, the final incarnation of Vishnu, who will come to restore the world when it is most lost. Kalki is not here yet. He has not arrived, but his presence is already felt in the undercurrents of time. He is the horse-riding warrior, sword raised high, whose very being will cleanse the world of its corruption. In every war fought, every injustice committed, the shadow of Kalki looms, waiting for the right moment to descend. But what is this moment? How does one prepare for the coming of a being who represents both the end and the beginning? The world must first reach its darkest hour, its most twisted, cruel state. Only when human arrogance has reached its zenith, when evil has ravaged the earth without remorse, will Kalki rise to end the chaos and restore righteousness, the Dharma. The people have forgotten what it is to live with honor, truth, and compassion. Wars are fought for selfish gain, love has turned to hate, and virtue is nearly a distant memory. The very essence of humanity is on the verge of being lost forever. But as the shadows grow, so does the light that Kalki will bring. In his presence, evil will tremble. Tyrants will fall, and the earth will be freed from the chains that bind it. The moment Kalki steps onto the world stage, there will be no mistaking it. His arrival will not be subtle. He will ride a white horse, his sword gleaming with the light of justice, cutting through the darkness like a beacon. His eyes will burn with the fire of righteousness, and every word he speaks will strike the earth with the force of divine power. Those who have caused suffering will be laid bare, their deeds exposed for all to see. The wicked will have nowhere to hide. Kalki will not come as a mere conqueror. His mission is not to rule the earth with an iron fist, but to restore the world to its true nature, a place where truth, compassion, and justice reign once again. His victory will not be one of destruction for the sake of destruction, but of purification. He will cleanse the earth of its impurities, removing the filth that has built up over countless lifetimes, until only the pure remains. And when the darkness is no more, when the tyrants are vanquished, and peace once again graces the land, Kalki will not remain. His purpose will be fulfilled, and with the world restored, he will vanish, just as mysteriously as he arrived. The cycle will continue. It will start anew, as it always has, but this time, it will be different. The seeds of righteousness planted by Kalki will grow, and the world will once again know balance. The arrival of Kalki is not a simple tale of a hero rising to save the world. It is the culmination of everything that has come before. It is the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. And though Kalki's footsteps have not yet echoed through the world, they are already written into the stars, waiting for the right time to be heard. It is said that Kalki will come when the world is at its darkest. But perhaps the darkness is not just a sign of despair, it is a reminder that even in the deepest shadows, the light is about to break through. The more the world falls into chaos, the closer we come to the arrival of the Savior. The closer we get to the moment when hope will rise, shining brighter than ever before. When Kalki comes, he will not simply be a savior of the world, he will be a savior of the soul. A reminder that no matter how lost we may feel, there is always a way back to light, to truth, to hope. Kalki's coming will be inevitable, a promise that cannot be undone. And when he finally arrives, it will not be in the form of a distant god, but in the very essence of the universe's will to right what has been wronged. The world will be remade, as it always was meant to be, by the hand of Kalki, the future savior. The only question is, will we be ready to face him when he comes? The air was thick with anticipation, the kind of stillness that hangs just before the moment of change. The world had grown weary, its people burdened with obstacles they couldn't seem to overcome, barriers in their hearts, their minds, and their paths. Challenges that no matter how hard they tried, seemed insurmountable. Despair lingered in the air, as if the weight of the world was too much to bear. But there was hope. A glimmer that wasn't yet fully seen, a small spark waiting to ignite. This hope took the form of a figure, unlike any other, gentle, wise, and with an undeniable aura of strength. It was Ganesha, the beloved elephant-headed deity, known far and wide as the remover of obstacles. Ganesha's presence was not one of grandiose power or overwhelming might. No, it was something more subtle, more accessible. He was the friend you could count on, the guardian whose very being embodied the ability to clear your path, to guide you through the darkest tunnels. His elephant head, with its wide ears, seemed to listen to the struggles of those in need, while his gentle yet firm nature promised that no challenge was too great to overcome with his help. There were no words needed when Ganesha was near. His mere presence soothed the mind, easing the burden of doubt and worry. He understood the pain of obstacles, those heavy, invisible walls that seemed to trap you in place, holding you back from your dreams, your aspirations, your true self. It was as if the weight of the world could be lifted with just a simple glance from his compassionate eyes. The stories told of Ganesha's ability to clear the most difficult of paths were not just legends, they were experiences lived by those who called out to him in their moments of need. People, lost in the labyrinth of their own doubts, would offer him prayers, asking for the strength to face their challenges, and in return, Ganesha would show them the way. His trunk, that unique and versatile symbol of his wisdom, would sweep aside obstacles, literally and metaphorically, guiding the way for those who were stuck, those who had lost their way. One story tells of a young student who struggled with his studies, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information he had to learn. Every day seemed like an impossible mountain to climb, and no matter how much he tried, the knowledge just wouldn't stick. He prayed to Ganesha, his heart full of hope. The next day, as he sat at his desk, he felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. It wasn't that the work became any easier, but his mind had been cleared of the doubts that had once clouded it. His thoughts felt sharper, more focused. Slowly but surely, the obstacle of learning became less insurmountable, and he found himself making progress where there was once only frustration. He could feel Ganesha's presence with him, clearing the mental clutter that had once stood in his way. Another tale speaks of a young couple trapped in a cycle of misunderstanding and miscommunication. They had built walls around themselves, unable to see eye to eye. Their love, once strong, now seemed to be stifled by the constant obstacles of hurt and pride. Desperate for a way to reconnect, they prayed to Ganesha, asking for the strength to break through their own emotional barriers. That night, in their dreams, they both had visions of the elephant-headed god, his gentle face offering them understanding and wisdom. When they woke, it was as if the walls between them had been shattered. They communicated with a new clarity, seeing each other not as opponents, but as companions on a shared journey. The obstacles they faced weren't erased, but the way through them had been made clear. Ganesha's role as the remover of obstacles is not simply about taking the challenges away, it's about giving the strength to face them. He doesn't promise an easy life. Instead, he promises the clarity, wisdom, and courage to move forward. His gifts are not always instantaneous, and his help doesn't come with a wave of a magic wand. It is more profound than that. It is the power to see beyond the problem, to understand it, and to find the best way to deal with it. The world, though full of challenges, is not a place where people are meant to walk alone. Ganesha reminds us of this truth. We are not left to face our struggles in isolation. In every moment of pain, every obstacle that seems impossible to overcome, there is always a divine presence ready to help us clear our path. It is up to us to call upon that presence, to seek guidance when we are lost, and to trust that no matter how dark the road may seem, there is always a way forward. And when Ganesha removes the obstacles, it is not just the path that clears, it is our hearts. The walls we have built within ourselves, the doubts and fears that have held us back, are broken down. In their place, there is space for growth, for new possibilities. We find the courage to move forward, to take that first step into the unknown, knowing that we are not alone. Ganesha walks with us, lifting us up when we fall, and showing us the way to the other side of our struggles. So when the road ahead seems blocked, when the path appears impossible to tread, remember Ganesha. Call upon his name, and know that the remover of obstacles is always near. He will clear the way, not by removing the challenge itself, but by giving you the strength to face it. And in doing so, he will lead you to the realization that sometimes the greatest obstacle isn't the one in front of us, but the one within. And once we learn to move past that, nothing will stand in our way. The battlefield was silent, as though the earth itself held its breath. The sky was thick with tension, the air heavy with the scent of blood and iron. Warriors from both sides stood frozen in place, their gazes turned to the figure standing at the front, Kartikeya, the warrior god, radiant in his armor, a gleam of pure fire in his eyes. The sound of his name alone struck fear into the hearts of the wicked, for they knew that he was no mere mortal. He was the embodiment of divine strength, courage, and the protector of all that was righteous. Kartikeya's presence on the battlefield was like a storm, unstoppable and powerful. With every step he took, the ground trembled beneath his feet, the earth seeming to acknowledge the force that was about to be unleashed. His chariot, drawn by peacocks, soared above the clouds, the brilliant golden wheels cutting through the skies. His spear, the mighty Vel, shimmered with divine power, its very tip capable of piercing through the most impenetrable of defenses. To face him was to face certain destruction, for Kartikeya was not simply a warrior, he was the embodiment of justice, fighting with the relentless fury of a god who would not let evil go unpunished. Yet, beneath the armor of steel and the aura of power, there was something more. There was a depth to Kartikeya's purpose, a divine mission that went beyond the physical realm. He was born to destroy the forces of darkness, to bring balance to the world. His story was not just one of battle and conquest, but one of profound sacrifice and determination. It was a story of love, honor, and the unyielding will to protect those who could not protect themselves. The creation of Kartikeya was itself a divine act, a result of the god's desperation to rid the world of the demon Tarakasura, whose terror had spread across the heavens. The gods had tried every method at their disposal, but none could defeat the demon. That was when they turned to Shiva, the god of destruction, and Parvati, the goddess of love and nurturing. Their union produced Kartikeya, the child of divine power, who would be the one to defeat Tarakasura and restore balance. As Kartikeya grew, it became clear that he was not just a warrior, he was a symbol of the divine will to protect the good and destroy the evil. He was trained in the arts of war by the gods themselves, mastering every weapon and technique that could be used to combat the forces of darkness. But it wasn't just his martial prowess that made him a god of such incredible power. It was his unwavering commitment to his mission. Kartikeya did not fight for glory or honor, he fought because it was his duty, because the forces of evil threatened to consume the world. And so, when the time came to face Tarakasura, Kartikeya mounted his chariot and rode into battle without hesitation. He knew that the fate of the world rested on his shoulders, but there was no fear in his heart. His mission was clear, he would not allow evil to triumph. With his veil in hand, he charged toward Tarakasura's army, his heart filled with divine resolve. The battle that followed was fierce, but Kartikeya's strength was unmatched. With every swing of his spear, he brought down demons, scattering them like dust in the wind. But the final confrontation was between him and Tarakasura, the demon who had terrorized the heavens. Their battle raged across the skies, lightning flashing and thunder cracking in the distance. Kartikeya was relentless, his every move precise and calculated. And when the moment came, when all seemed lost for the demon, Kartikeya hurled his veil with the force of 1,000 storms, striking Tarakasura down once and for all. The heavens erupted in celebration, for the world was saved from the clutches of darkness. Yet even in his victory, Kartikeya did not seek adulation. His heart was not one of pride, but of humility. He knew that his power, his strength, was a gift from the gods, and he wielded it only because it was his duty. His victory was not just for himself, it was for the greater good of all. And so, when the battle was over, Kartikeya returned to his divine abode, not as a conqueror, but as a guardian, a protector of all that was pure. In the years that followed, Kartikeya's name became synonymous with strength and justice. His role as a warrior god was not limited to the battles he fought in the heavens, it extended to every aspect of the lives of those who called upon him. He was the protector of righteousness, the one who would defend the innocent from harm. His image, with his veil raised high, became a symbol of hope, a reminder that no matter how dark the world may seem, there would always be a force of light fighting to restore balance. For those who face the trials of life, whether they be physical, emotional, or spiritual, Kartikeya is a figure of inspiration. His story reminds us that strength is not just in the body, but in the heart. It is the courage to stand up for what is right, the willingness to fight against the forces that seek to harm others, and the determination to never back down, no matter the cost. Kartikeya shows us that being a warrior is not about the battles we fight, but about the reasons we fight them. And in his unwavering commitment to justice, he teaches us that true power comes not from conquering others, but from conquering the darkness within ourselves. He is more than just a god of war, he is the god of justice, the protector of all that is good, and a symbol of the divine strength that resides within us all. In every struggle, in every moment of hardship, Kartikeya stands as a reminder that we are never alone in our fight for what is right. His courage, his wisdom, and his relentless pursuit of justice continue to inspire all who seek to make the world a better place. And as long as his story is told, the world will always have a warrior on its side. The air was thick with the scent of incense, the dim glow of flickering oil lamps casting dancing shadows on the walls. The temple, nestled deep in the heart of the mountains, was quiet, too quiet. But in the stillness, there was an unmistakable sense of anticipation, as though the very earth itself was waiting for something extraordinary to unfold. And then, they appeared. In the blink of an eye, two figures, radiant and ethereal, descended from the heavens. Their golden chariots, drawn by horses as bright as the sun, touched the earth with a soft grace, barely making a sound. As they stepped from their chariot, their eyes sparkled with the knowledge of the divine, their presence soothing, yet commanding. These were no ordinary beings. They were the Ashwini Kumaras, the twin gods, the healers of the gods themselves. The Ashwini Kumaras were born not from the womb of a mortal woman, but from the union of the cosmic forces, the divine essence of the universe itself. Their very existence was a blessing, a gift to both the gods and humans. With the powers of healing coursing through their veins, the Ashwini Kumaras were called upon by the gods to heal injuries, cure diseases, and even bring back the dead. They were the celestial physicians, the divine doctors who could mend broken bodies and souls with a single touch. But their story began long before they became known for their healing. As the children of the celestial sages, the Ashwini Kumaras were born into a world filled with magic, power, and secrets. Their father, the sage Kashyapa, was a being of immense wisdom, and their mother, Aditi, was a goddess of nurturing and protection. Together, they raised their sons to be wise, compassionate, and pure. But even in their infancy, the Ashwini Kumaras were unlike any other beings in existence. Their radiant beauty was the first thing that struck anyone who saw them. Their golden skin shimmered with the light of the sun, and their eyes, deep, infinite pools of wisdom, seemed to see straight through the world's illusions. They were youthful, yet their presence carried the weight of eons. They wore robes spun from the very fabric of the cosmos, their hair falling in waves like streams of starlight. The gods looked upon them with admiration, while the mortals revered them as the very personification of healing and hope. The Ashwini Kumaras' powers, however, were not born from magic or spells. They were rooted in something much deeper, their connection to the divine. Through their parents, they had inherited the wisdom of the gods, the knowledge of how to heal, to restore balance, and to mend the fragile bodies of those who suffered. No injury was too severe, no disease too dangerous for them to handle. Whether it was a god who had fallen in battle, a mortal suffering from the fever of plague, or being cursed by a dark force, the Ashwini Kumaras could cure it with nothing more than their touch. But the greatest gift the Ashwini Kumaras gave to the world was their compassion. They did not simply heal for the sake of power or glory, they healed because it was their calling, their divine duty. They were not concerned with the pride or fame that came with their abilities, they were motivated by something much more profound, love and mercy. They were the epitome of selflessness, always seeking to alleviate the suffering of others without hesitation, without thought for their own well-being. It was said that when a person fell ill, whether mortal or divine, the Ashwini Kumaras would appear in the blink of an eye, their chariot descending from the heavens like a streak of golden lightning. They would offer their assistance without question, without needing to be asked, for they knew that to heal was to bring peace to the soul. They would kneel beside the suffering, their hands glowing with healing light, and in an instant, the pain would dissipate, the illness would vanish, and the body would be restored. The gods, of course, were not immune to the trials of life. Even they, with all their power and immortality, could fall victim to the ravages of time and injury. And so, the Ashwini Kumaras were frequently called upon to tend to the wounds of the gods. When Indra, the king of the heavens, was struck down in battle, it was the Ashwini Kumaras who restored him to health. When the sage Durga cursed Vishnu, causing the god's body to suffer, the Ashwini Kumaras came to his aid, healing the wounds of the divine body and bringing balance back to the universe. But the Ashwini Kumaras were not just healers, they were protectors. They were known to ride into battle, their chariot flying through the skies, to defend those who were helpless and vulnerable. It was said that their very presence could turn the tide of a battle, their divine light shining like a beacon of hope to those who fought for righteousness. They were the guardians of life itself, ensuring that the cosmic order remained intact, that the balance of the universe was never disturbed for long. One of the most poignant stories of their compassion comes from the tale of a great king who had fallen ill, his body ravaged by an unknown sickness. The kingdom had sent for the finest physicians, but none could cure him. Desperate, the king turned to the Ashwini Kumaras, who had been called upon to heal many gods and mortals alike. The twin gods arrived at the king's bedside, their chariot glowing with divine light. They took the king's hand in theirs, and in that moment, the king felt the warmth of their touch seep into his very soul. He could feel his body coming back to life, his strength returning, as if the very essence of the universe had been woven back into him. It was in that moment that the king understood the true nature of the Ashwini Kumaras. They were not just healers of the body, they were healers of the heart. Their touch was not simply a restoration of flesh, but a restoration of hope, of faith, of life itself. The Ashwini Kumaras brought more than just physical healing. They brought a sense of peace, a sense of purpose, and a reminder that no matter how dark the world might seem, there was always light, always love, waiting to heal and restore. Their legend lives on, whispered in the winds and carried through the ages. The Ashwini Kumaras continue to be a beacon of hope, a symbol of divine compassion and mercy, reminding us that no matter how deep the wounds, no matter how great the suffering, there is always a path to healing. And sometimes, that path is illuminated by the shining light of the twin healers, who walk among us even now, their hands ever ready to heal, to restore, and to protect. The storm raged above the mountains, the sky an ever-shifting tapestry of dark clouds and flashing lightning. The wind howled like the roar of 1,000 beasts, and the earth trembled beneath the fury of nature's power. In the heart of it all stood a figure, his eyes ablaze with divine fire, his voice like thunder itself. He was neither man nor beast, but a force of nature, as old as time itself, Indra, the king of the gods, the lord of the heavens, the wielder of the thunderbolt. Indra's power was unmatched. As the ruler of the heavens and the one who controlled the weather, his presence was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. When he spoke, the heavens trembled, and when he moved, the earth quaked. The storm followed him like a loyal servant, his mighty weapon, the Vajra, the thunderbolt, his constant companion. With a single strike, he could level mountains, and with a mere glance, he could summon the clouds to pour rain upon the earth. But his story was not just one of power, it was one of complexity, of battles fought and lost, of pride and humility, and of the eternal struggle between the divine and the mortal. Indra's birth was no ordinary event. Born to the sage Kashyapa and the goddess Aditi, he was destined for greatness from the moment of his creation. His very presence in the universe was a symbol of the balance of power, the ruler of the gods who ensured that order was maintained in the heavens and on earth. He was the god who protected the earth from the forces of chaos, the one who fought against the demons, the Asuras, who sought to overthrow the divine order. But despite his divine birth and his immense power, Indra's path was never easy. His story was one of constant struggle, both against the forces that threatened the heavens and against his own inner turmoil. Indra was not just a god of war, he was a god of wisdom and judgment. He was often called upon to make decisions that shaped the very course of the cosmos. He was the one who maintained the cosmic order, ensuring that the sun rose each day, that the rains came when needed, and that the earth flourished. Yet, with all his power, he was not immune to flaws. He had a tendency toward pride, a belief that his strength and authority made him invincible. And it was this pride that led to his most famous and most humbling battle. The tale of Indra's greatest defeat begins with a challenge, one that would change the course of his life forever. It began with a demon king, Vritra, a being of immense power who sought to swallow the world in darkness. Vritra had gained control over the waters of the earth, and without the life-giving rain, the crops began to wither, the rivers dried up, and famine spread across the land. The gods turned to Indra, their king, to save the world from this threat. With the power of his thunderbolt, he descended upon the demon, the skies darkening as he prepared for battle. The clash between Indra and Vritra was a battle of titanic proportions, a fight that shook the heavens and the earth. Indra, with his Vajra in hand, hurled thunderbolts at the demon, but each blow was deflected, each strike met with an equal force. For the first time, Indra found himself facing a foe he could not defeat, no matter how much power he unleashed. He was humbled, unable to free the world from the grip of darkness. In his moment of weakness, he turned to his fellow gods for help, but they too could offer no solution. It was only when the sage Deities, in an act of divine sacrifice, gave his bones to forge a weapon even mightier than the Vajra that Indra could finally defeat Vritra. But Indra's victory was not one of pure triumph. It came at a great cost. The demon was slain, the waters returned to the earth, and life began to flourish once more. Yet, in the aftermath of the battle, Indra was left to confront the truth. His pride had nearly cost him everything. He had relied too much on his own strength, believing that he alone could protect the world. In the end, it was the sacrifice of a sage, not the might of his thunderbolt, that had saved the day. This moment of humility marked a turning point in Indra's life. No longer did he see himself as infallible. Instead, he understood the value of cooperation, of humility, and of the divine forces that worked alongside him. His relationship with the other gods shifted as he learned to value their wisdom and strength. Yet, despite his newfound humility, Indra's story was not over. He was still the king of the gods, the ruler of the heavens, and the force that maintained the balance of the universe. And with that power came the weight of responsibility. But it was not just his battles with demons that shaped Indra's legacy, it was also his role in the lives of mortals. The stories of Indra's interactions with humans were numerous and filled with wonder. He would descend from the heavens to offer protection to those in need, guiding the righteous and punishing the wicked. He was the God who ensured that the earth would prosper, that the rains would come, and that life would continue. Yet, his relationship with mortals was not always simple. At times, he was revered and worshipped, while at other times, he was the subject of doubt and fear. One of the most poignant stories of Indra's interaction with mortals comes from the tale of his encounter with the great sage Gautama. When Gautama's wife, Ahulya, was tricked by Indra in the form of her husband, the sage's anger knew no bounds. He cursed Indra, stripping him of his glory and rendering him powerless. It was only through the intervention of other gods, and through his own humility and repentance, that Indra was able to regain his position as king of the gods. This tale is a reminder of the fragile nature of power and the constant need for self-awareness and humility. Through all of his struggles, victories, and defeats, Indra's legacy remains one of immense importance in Hindu mythology. He is the god of rain, thunder, and storms, the one who brings life and sustains the earth. Yet, his story is not just one of divine power. It is the story of a king who faced his own weaknesses, who learned from his mistakes, and who found redemption in humility. Indra's tale is a timeless reminder that no matter how powerful one may become, it is the strength of character, the ability to learn and grow, that truly defines greatness. Indra, the king of the gods, remains a symbol of the complex balance between power and responsibility, pride and humility. His story is woven into the very fabric of the cosmos, a tale that continues to inspire, to challenge, and to remind us all of the importance of never losing sight of the greater good. The flames flickered in the night, dancing with a life of their own, casting long shadows that seemed to reach out across the earth. The smell of smoke and incense filled the air as the priests chanted in unison, their voices rising in devotion. At the center of the ritual stood the sacred fire, its heat radiating outward, the embers glowing as if they were the very breath of the gods. It was not just any fire, it was Agni, the god of fire, the eternal flame that bridged the world of mortals and the realm of the divine. Agni was not merely a god, he was the life force that sustained the world. He was the flame that consumed and purified, that offered warmth and light, and that connected the heavens to the earth. In the rituals of the ancient Hindus, Agni was the central figure, the deity to whom all sacrifices were offered. His presence in the sacrificial fire was both a symbol of divine power and a necessity for the prosperity of humanity. Without Agni, the world would be lost in darkness, without warmth, without sustenance. He was the giver of life, the purifier of souls, the god whose flame transcended time and space. The role of Agni in the rituals was not just symbolic. He was the one who carried the offerings from the earth to the gods. The smoke that rose from the sacrificial fire was thought to ascend to the heavens, carrying with it the prayers, the hopes, and the desires of the worshippers. It was through Agni that the gods were appeased, that blessings were bestowed, and that cosmic balance was maintained. Without Agni's mediation, the offerings would remain on the earth, lost and forgotten. But with his fiery presence, they reached the divine realm, ensuring that the cycle of life, death, and rebirth continued. Agni was no ordinary god, his essence was the fire itself. He was both the destroyer and the creator, the one who consumed what was no longer needed, and yet, from that very destruction, new life emerged. His connection to the rituals was not just one of power, it was one of necessity. The sacrifices that were offered to him were not merely acts of devotion, they were acts of survival. The fire, with its destructive and transformative qualities, was a reminder of the fleeting nature of life, of the cycles of creation and destruction that governed the universe. Agni's flame burned brightly, consuming the old and giving rise to the new. In his presence, nothing was ever truly gone, it was simply transformed. The rituals dedicated to Agni were not just about appeasing the gods. They were about purification. In the flames of the sacrificial fire, all impurities, whether physical, mental, or spiritual, were burned away. The offerings, whether they were grains, ghee, or herbs, were consumed by the fire, and in doing so, they were purified, sanctified. This act of purification was essential not only for the gods, but for the worshippers as well. Through the rituals, the devotees were cleansed, their souls washed in the fire, their hearts opened to divine grace. But Agni's role in the rituals was not just about purification, it was also about the preservation of life. In the scorching heat of the flames, the seeds of life were planted. The fire, which consumed and destroyed, also had the power to nourish and sustain. The same flame that burned the offerings to the gods also cooked the food that would nourish the body, warmed the homes that provided shelter, and lit the lamps that guided the way. Agni was the force that sustained life itself, that ensured that the balance of nature was upheld. Yet, despite his central role in the rituals, Agni was often a god who went unnoticed, his presence taken for granted. The flames, the smoke, the fire, these were all part of the daily life of the people, but they were also a reminder of something far greater, something that was beyond human understanding. Agni's fire was not merely a physical phenomenon, it was a divine force, a manifestation of the eternal, the unchanging. It was both a part of the natural world and a part of the divine realm, a link between the mortal and the immortal, the earthly and the celestial. Agni was a god of contradictions. He was both gentle and fierce, a god of creation and destruction, of life and death. His flames could offer warmth and comfort, but they could also scorch and consume. The fire could heal and purify, but it could also burn and destroy. This duality was what made Agni both terrifying and awe-inspiring. His fire was a force of nature that could not be controlled, yet it was also a gift that could not be denied. Those who understood Agni's nature were able to harness his power, to use it for the benefit of all. But those who took his fire for granted, who treated it with disrespect, soon found themselves burned by its wrath. The connection between Agni and the rituals was not one of mere formality. It was a bond that ran deep, a relationship that transcended the boundaries of time and space. In the sacrifices offered to Agni, the worshippers were not just asking for blessings, they were acknowledging their place in the cosmic order. The fire was a reminder of their own mortality, of the transience of life, and of the eternal cycle of creation, destruction, and rebirth. Through Agni, they were reminded of their connection to the divine, of the sacred nature of existence. The stories of Agni were many, each one a testament to his power and influence. One of the most famous stories of Agni is his role in the great sacrifice of Daksha, the father of Sati. When Daksha held a grand yajna, a sacrifice to the gods, he invited all the gods except Shiva, the one who was Sati's husband. This insult to Shiva enraged Sati, who chose to immolate herself in the fire rather than live without her husband's presence. Agni, who was called upon to witness the sacrifice, became the silent witness to the tragic event. His flames consumed Sati's body, and her soul was taken to the heavens, where she was reborn in a new form. Agni's connection to rituals and sacrifices was not limited to grand ceremonies. He was present in the smallest of acts, in the everyday rituals that sustained life. From the lighting of the kitchen fire to the offering of a simple prayer, Agni was always present, his flames ever watchful, his warmth ever giving. In the daily lives of the people, Agni was a constant companion, a reminder of the divine presence that guided and protected them. And so, in every flame that flickered, and every spark that ignited, there was the presence of Agni, the god of fire, the purifier, the creator, and the destroyer. His flames burned brightly, a beacon of light and warmth, a reminder of the sacredness of life itself. In the fire, there was transformation, there was renewal, and there was the ever-present promise of divine protection. The sun rose slowly over the horizon, casting its golden light across the world. Its rays touched everything they fell upon, bringing life, warmth, and energy. In that moment, it was more than just a star in the sky. It was Surya, the sun god, shining down with a power that could neither be seen nor touched, but felt in every living thing. His presence, although invisible to the eye, was the very source of existence, the lifeblood of the universe. With every sunrise, Surya granted life to the earth, and with every sunset, he retreated to his celestial home, only to rise again. Surya was the embodiment of the sun's divine essence, a god of unimaginable power, yet one who also embodied humility in his daily cycle. His golden chariot, drawn by 7 horses, raced across the sky, bringing light to all realms, and his brilliance could melt away the darkest of fears. To the ancient Hindus, Surya was not just a celestial body, he was a god whose influence permeated every aspect of life, from the smallest seed in the earth to the vast stars in the sky. Surya was the harbinger of truth, vitality, and growth, illuminating the path to knowledge and enlightenment. His radiant presence was vital for sustaining all life on earth. Without Surya, there would be no warmth, no seasons, no crops. The very earth would become barren and lifeless, and the balance of nature would collapse. The role of Surya in Hindu mythology was not merely that of a giver of light, he was the eternal force that made all things possible. He was the god who kept the cycle of day and night intact, who guided the movements of the planets and stars, and whose influence was felt by every living creature, from the mighty elephants to the smallest insects. Surya's light illuminated the world, not just physically but spiritually as well. But there was more to Surya than his role as the giver of light. He was also a symbol of justice, truth, and moral clarity. The sun's unwavering rise every morning was a reminder of the constancy of truth, the unchanging nature of the laws of the universe. Surya's presence was a beacon of righteousness, dispelling the darkness of ignorance and falsehood. In Hindu mythology, the sun god's influence was seen in the actions of great heroes and sages, who invoked his blessings for strength, wisdom, and protection. One of the most significant stories surrounding Surya was that of his son, Karna, the mighty warrior from the Mahabharata. Born to the unwed Kunti, Karna's birth was a divine miracle, a gift from Surya himself. Kunti had invoked Surya with a mantra, seeking his blessings, and in response, Surya granted her a child, who would be born with a golden armor and earrings, symbols of his divine heritage. Karna was a man of unmatched strength and valor, yet his life was fraught with sorrow and pain, marked by the conflict between loyalty to his friend Duryodhana and the knowledge of his true birthright. Despite his noble lineage, Karna faced rejection and discrimination, yet he never turned away from the path of righteousness. The story of Karna is intertwined with Surya's divine role. The sun god's blessings on Karna were both a gift and a burden, a reminder of the complexities of fate and destiny. Surya's presence in Karna's life was both a source of strength and an eternal reminder of the burdens that come with greatness. Even in the darkest moments of Karna's life, when he was at his lowest, the warmth of Surya's rays remained with him, a silent companion, guiding him towards his ultimate destiny. The symbolism of Surya in the Vedic hymns was clear. He was the source of light, both physical and spiritual. He was invoked for blessings in battle, for success in life, and for the courage to face challenges. The Gayatri Mantra, one of the most powerful mantras in Hinduism, is addressed to Surya, invoking the divine light of the sun god to illuminate the mind and awaken wisdom. Om Bur Bhuvasvaha, Tat Savitar Varenium, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dio Yo Na Prakadayat. It is a prayer for enlightenment, for the removal of ignorance, and for the guidance of the divine light on the path of righteousness. Surya, as the eternal giver of light, was a symbol of the divine wisdom that could dispel the darkness of ignorance and lead to enlightenment. Surya was not only revered for his light, but also for the healing power he held. In Hindu mythology, the sun god was believed to have the ability to cure diseases, heal ailments, and restore vitality. The rays of Surya were thought to have medicinal properties, capable of purifying both the body and the mind. In ancient times, people would bathe in the sunlight at dawn or dusk, believing that the sun's rays would purify them and bring them health. The act of sun-gazing, done with devotion and discipline, was thought to align the mind with the divine and heal both physical and emotional ailments. Surya was not just a celestial god, he was a life-giving force, a healer who touched every part of existence. There was also the story of the sage Suryadeva, a devotee of Surya, who sought to unlock the secrets of the sun's light. Suryadeva would spend hours every day meditating in the sunlight, seeking enlightenment. Through his unwavering devotion, he was granted the divine knowledge of the sun's power, understanding the true nature of its light, its heat, and its life-giving properties. Suryadeva's story serves as a reminder of the spiritual and physical healing that Surya's rays bring. Light is both a physical and metaphysical source of strength. Even the sun god himself was not immune to the trials and tribulations of life. The sun may rise and set every day without fail, but it also faced challenges along the way. Surya had to battle the demons who sought to eclipse him, to keep shining through the darkness and maintain his place as the beacon of life. These stories of cosmic struggle remind us that even the most constant forces in the universe must endure hardship to continue their cycle of creation. But perhaps the most moving aspect of Surya's character was his compassion. Though he was the god of light and justice, he did not turn his back on those who struggled in darkness. The sun does not choose who it touches, its light falls on all equally, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or what they have done. Surya's benevolence was unconditional. He offered his warmth, his energy, and his light to all beings, regardless of their status or merit. Surya's cycle, his eternal rise and fall, his unwavering consistency, was a lesson in resilience and humility. Every morning, no matter the circumstances, Surya rose again, without fail, illuminating the world and bringing life to all. In his light, there was truth, in his warmth, there was love. In his radiance, there was hope, and in his eternal presence, there was the promise that no matter how dark the night, the sun would always rise again. The moon hung low in the night sky, its soft light casting a silvery glow over the world below. Unlike the sun's blazing dominance, the moon's light was gentle, soothing, and mysterious. It didn't overwhelm, it whispered. To the ancients, this ethereal presence was not just an object in the heavens, it was Chandra, the moon god, watching over the earth with his calm and serene gaze. Chandra was more than a celestial body, he was the keeper of time, the orchestrator of tides, and a symbol of emotions that ebb and flow just like his phases. Chandra's presence was deeply personal. While the sun ruled the day with its bold clarity, the moon belonged to the night, to the moments of reflection, vulnerability, and dreams. Chandra represented the dualities of life, light and shadow, fullness and absence, stability and change. He was a god of poetry and romance, his pale glow inspiring countless hearts to long for love and connection. Yet, like the moon itself, Chandra's story was not without its shadows. Born as one of the celestial deities during the churning of the ocean, or Samudra Manthan, Chandra emerged radiant and flawless, his beauty rivaling that of the stars. He was crowned with the crescent moon, a symbol of eternity and cyclical renewal. Chandra's charm was irresistible, his presence magnetic. It was said that his beauty was so enchanting that even the gods could not look away. Yet, it was this same allure that brought Chandra both adoration and trouble. One of the most poignant stories of Chandra's life was his relationship with the 27 daughters of the sage Daksha. Chandra married them all, for they were the personifications of the 27 nakshatras, or lunar mansions, that the moon passes through during its cycle. Among them, Rohini was his favorite. Her beauty and grace captivated him, and he spent more time in her company than with his other wives. This favoritism stirred jealousy and sorrow among the other nakshatras, who felt neglected by their divine husband. The complaints of the daughters reached their father, Daksha, who grew enraged at Chandra's partiality. In his fury, Daksha cursed Chandra, condemning him to wither away, losing his brilliance and vitality. As the curse took effect, Chandra's light began to fade, his once lustrous presence dimming into near invisibility. The moon waned, and the world plunged into despair. The tides lost their rhythm, the nights became darker, and the balance of nature was thrown into chaos. Desperate and broken, Chandra sought refuge and guidance from Lord Shiva. The destroyer, known for his compassion toward the devout, listened to Chandra's pleas. Moved by his plight, Shiva placed Chandra on his matted hair, adorning him as a crescent moon. This act did not completely remove the curse, but it softened its effects. Chandra would now wax and wane, regaining his fullness periodically, only to fade again, a perpetual reminder of both his beauty and his flaws. The lunar cycle, with its phases of growth and decline, was born out of this divine compromise. This story of Chandra carries a profound lesson. His waxing and waning are a reflection of life's inherent rhythms. Just as the moon cannot remain full forever, neither can joy or sorrow be eternal. Change is the only constant, and even in moments of loss, there is the promise of renewal. Chandra teaches us to embrace impermanence, to find beauty in the fleeting, and to cherish the light, no matter how dim it may be. But Chandra's significance extends beyond the celestial. He is closely associated with emotions, the mind, and intuition. In Hindu philosophy, Chandra governs the manas, or mind, influencing thoughts, feelings, and moods. His phases are said to mirror the human psyche, sometimes bright and expansive, other times shadowed and introspective. Chandra's light is not just a physical phenomenon, it is the light of inner clarity, illuminating the depths of the heart and soul. Chandra's connection to time is another vital aspect of his role. The moon's phases mark the passage of months in the lunar calendar, which is integral to Hindu rituals and festivals. From the waxing moon that heralds growth and abundance to the waning moon that signifies introspection and release, Chandra's cycle governs the rhythm of life itself. Festivals like Karva Chauth and Shara Purnima celebrate his presence, with devotees fasting and praying under the moonlight, seeking blessings for love, health, and prosperity. One cannot speak of Chandra without mentioning his bond with Soma, the divine nectar of immortality. Soma, the drink of the gods, is often personified as Chandra himself. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, the nectar is said to flow and replenish, symbolizing the eternal cycle of vitality and rejuvenation. This association made Chandra a deity of nourishment and healing, a bringer of peace to the restless and comfort to the weary. Yet, Chandra's story also has a darker side. He was not immune to the consequences of his actions, and his charm sometimes led to reckless behavior. One such instance was his infatuation with Tara, the wife of Brihaspati, the guru of the gods. Chandra's pursuit of Tara led to a conflict that disrupted the harmony of the heavens. The union of Chandra and Tara resulted in the birth of Buddha, the god of intellect and communication, but it also brought about a deep rift among the celestial beings. This tale serves as a reminder that even divine beings are not beyond the reach of desire and its consequences. Through his flaws and virtues, Chandra embodies the complexities of existence. He is the light that shines in the darkness, the constant amidst change, the gentle reminder that even in our moments of decline, we hold the potential for renewal. His phases teach us to accept life cycles with grace, to find beauty in imperfection, and to trust that no matter how dark the night, the moon will rise again. Chandra's story is not just one of celestial grandeur, it is a deeply human tale, resonating with the struggles, hopes, and dreams that define us all. The ocean stretched endlessly, its surface rippling with the soft glow of the moonlight above. Beneath the waves lay mysteries untold, depths unseen, and a power that both nurtured and terrified. For millennia, these waters had whispered the name of their sovereign, Varuna. Not merely a god of the waters, Varuna was a force that flowed through every current, a presence that bound the heavens, the earth, and the cosmic order itself. Varuna's domain was vast, encompassing the seas, rivers, and lakes, but it extended far beyond the physical waters. He was the guardian of Rita, the unchanging law that governed the cosmos. Every star in the sky, every wave that kissed the shore, and every cycle of nature moved in harmony under the watchful eye of this divine protector. Varuna was not just a deity, he was the embodiment of balance, the unseen force that kept chaos at bay. In the stillness of the ocean, one could almost feel his gaze. Varuna was said to see everything, his 1,000 eyes piercing through the veil of darkness, observing all that was and all that could be. His omnipresence was not merely a statement of divine authority, it was a comfort to those who lived in harmony with his laws and a warning to those who dared to disrupt the balance of the world. No secret could escape him, no lie could go unnoticed. The ancient hymns of the Rigveda speak of Varuna with a reverence that borders on awe. He is depicted as a just and merciful God, one who listens to the prayers of the repentant and forgives those who seek redemption. Yet, there is an undeniable sternness in his justice. Varana's punishments were not acts of vengeance, but reminders of the order that must be upheld. To defy him was to defy the very fabric of existence, and the consequences were as unyielding as the tides. Varana's connection to water was both symbolic and literal. Water, after all, was life itself, a sustainer, purifier, and destroyer. The rivers that nourished the fields, the rains that quenched the thirst of the earth, and the oceans that held secrets of creation, all were under his dominion. Water, like Varana, could be gentle and nurturing or relentless and unforgiving. It demanded respect, just as he did. One of the most evocative aspects of Varana's mythology is his role as a protector of vows and truth. To take an oath in his name was to invite his scrutiny, his unblinking eyes ensuring that promises were kept and deceit was punished. This sacred connection made Varana a god of moral integrity, a deity whose very presence demanded honesty and fairness. Even kings, who ruled with the authority of gods on earth, feared breaking their word under his watchful gaze. Varana's celestial abode, often described as a magnificent palace in the heavens, was said to be surrounded by the waters of the cosmic ocean. Here, he was attended by the Nagas, serpent beings associated with water and wisdom, and other aquatic creatures. This imagery of Varana's realm paints him as both a god of great majesty and a deity deeply intertwined with the mysteries of life and death. Yet, Varana was not a distant god, confined to his heavenly throne. He was present in every drop of water, in every river that flowed, and in every storm that swept across the seas. Sailors prayed to him for safe passage, farmers for rain, and seekers of truth for guidance. His presence was felt in the rituals of purification, where water became a medium to cleanse the body and soul, a sacred act that connected mortals to the divine. In one of the most poignant tales, Varana is portrayed as a compassionate god, willing to release those who genuinely repented for their wrongdoings. A sinner bound by Varana's celestial noose, a symbol of his power to hold individuals accountable, could earn their freedom through sincere remorse and a return to righteousness. This act of grace reflected the duality of Varana, stern but merciful, unyielding yet forgiving. Varana's role as a cosmic protector extended to his relationship with other deities. He was often paired with Mitra, the god of contracts and alliances, creating a divine partnership that symbolized the dual aspects of law and order. While Mitra emphasized the bonds of human relationships, Varana governed the universal laws that held everything together. Together, they were the guardians of harmony, ensuring that both cosmic and societal structures remained intact. As time passed, Varana's prominence in Hindu worship waned, giving way to other deities who captured the imagination of the people. Yet, his legacy endured, his essence woven into the fabric of rituals, hymns, and the understanding of natural law. The waters still whisper his name, their ceaseless flow a testament to the eternal truths he represents. Standing at the edge of the ocean, watching the waves crash and recede, one cannot help but feel the presence of something greater. Varana is there, in the rhythm of the tides, the endless horizons, and the unfathomable depths. He is the reminder that life flows in cycles, that every action has a consequence, and that truth, like water, is the essence of existence. His story is not just one of divinity but of the eternal dance between order and chaos, between the seen and the unseen, between the mortal and the infinite. The air grows heavy when one speaks of Yama. His name alone is enough to send shivers through even the bravest hearts. Yama is not just the god of death, he is the gatekeeper of the afterlife, the overseer of karma, and the ultimate judge who determines the soul's fate. To encounter him is to confront the inescapable truth that all living beings must face, the end. Picture a lone soul standing at the edge of existence, trembling as it gazes upon Yama's court. This is no ordinary place. The great halls of the afterlife stretch endlessly, their silence broken only by the whisper of unseen winds. Here, in this solemn expanse, Yama sits on his throne, his presence both terrifying and dignified. His eyes, unyielding and all-seeing, pierce through every memory, every action, every intention the soul carried in life. In Hindu mythology, Yama is not a god who delights in the end of life, but one who ensures the balance of the cosmos. He is impartial, neither cruel nor merciful, but resolute in his duty. For Yama, every death is not an ending but a beginning, a crossing over to the next stage of existence. The soul's journey does not conclude, it transitions, guided by the weight of its deeds and the justice of karma. Yama's role is not arbitrary. When a mortal's time is up, it is his loyal servant, Chitragupta, who presents the detailed account of every action the individual performed in their lifetime. Every thought, every kindness, every cruelty is recorded meticulously. Yama listens, unmoved by pleading or regret, and delivers his verdict. Will the soul ascend to heavenly realms, reincarnate, or descend into realms of suffering to atone for its wrongs? His decision is absolute. The imagery of Yama is unforgettable. Mounted on his great buffalo, his dark, towering figure strikes a commanding presence. In one hand, he wields a noose, the dreaded pasha, which he uses to capture the soul at the moment of death. It is said that no mortal can escape his reach, for he is as certain as the rising and setting sun. Even kings, warriors, and sages, no matter how powerful, must eventually bow to Yama's call. And yet, Yama is not merely a figure of dread. There is a deep wisdom in his governance, a fairness that transcends mortal understanding. He is the upholder of Dharma, the cosmic order. Through death, he ensures the cycles of life remain unbroken, the eternal wheel of birth, death, and rebirth spinning onward. Without Yama, existence would lose its rhythm, its purpose. In the Mahabharata, Yama's wisdom shines through his role as the father of Yudhishthira, the eldest Pandava. When Yudhishthira is tested during their journey through the forest, it is Yama, disguised as a crane, who poses the profound questions of Dharma. Only Yudhishthira, with his unwavering commitment to righteousness, can answer these questions, earning not only his father's respect but also a deeper understanding of the delicate balance between life and death. Yama's duality is striking. While he is feared as the harbinger of the inevitable, he is also revered as the guide who leads souls to their next chapter. Hindus often perform rituals in his honor during Pitru Paksh, a period dedicated to honoring ancestors. These rituals acknowledge Yama's role in safeguarding the journey of their loved ones into the afterlife and ensuring they find peace. Perhaps the most poignant tale of Yama's compassionate side comes from the story of Savitri and Sadhyavan. When Yama comes to claim the soul of Sadhyavan, Savitri, a devoted wife, follows him relentlessly, her unwavering love defying even death itself. Moved by her determination and purity of heart, Yama grants Sadhyavan his life back, a rare act of mercy that reveals the depth of his character. While he is bound by his duty, he is not devoid of understanding or empathy. But Yama is also a reminder of life's impermanence. The ancient texts often describe him as the keeper of time, the one who ensures that every living being fulfills their allotted span. To live is to know that one day, Yama will arrive. This knowledge is not meant to invoke despair, but to inspire mindfulness, to remind mortals of the value of every moment. As the soul stands before Yama's throne, awaiting its judgment, there is no room for deception. Here, stripped of ego and worldly possessions, one is faced with the bare truth of existence. What did you do with the time you were given? Did you honor your responsibilities? Did you show kindness when it mattered? Did you live in alignment with Dharma? Yama asks no questions aloud, but his presence demands these answers from within. To some, Yama may seem distant, a god whose domain lies far from the world of the living. But his influence is ever present. In every cycle of day and night, in the falling of leaves and the blooming of flowers, in the birth of a child and the passing of a loved one, Yama's hand is visible. He is the reminder that life's beauty lies in its fragility, that every beginning carries within it the seeds of an end. In the end, Yama is not an adversary to be feared, but a guardian to be respected. He is the silent witness to the grand tapestry of existence, ensuring that every thread is in its rightful place. And as the soul departs his court, embarking on its next journey, Yama remains, watchful, unwavering, and eternal. The air shimmers with the faint glint of gold and precious jewels when the name Kabura is spoken. He is the god of wealth, the celestial banker of the heavens, and the keeper of treasures hidden deep within the earth. Yet, Kubera is not merely a figure adorned with riches, he is a symbol of prosperity, balance, and the moral weight of material wealth. Kubera's image is both captivating and humbling. He is often depicted as a rotund figure, his body glinting with ornaments of gold and gemstones. His broad smile radiates contentment, and his large eyes reflect both wisdom and vigilance. While he may seem indulgent at first glance, his form tells a story of wealth tempered by responsibility. Kubera's treasures are not his alone to hoard, they are entrusted to him as a custodian, a steward for the greater good of the cosmos. But Kubera's life wasn't always drenched in opulence. Born into the lineage of sage Vishrava and a half-brother to the mighty Ravana, Kubera's story is a tale of transformation. It is said that he once lived as an ascetic, performing severe penance to gain the blessings of Lord Brahma. Impressed by his devotion, Brahma granted him the title of Yaksharaja, the king of the Yakshas, and the role of Lokapala, the guardian of the northern direction. Along with these celestial honors came the responsibility of guarding the wealth of the universe, a role that would define his very essence. Kubera's celestial abode, Alakapuri, is a place of almost otherworldly splendor. Nestled on the peaks of Mount Kailasa, near Lord Shiva's divine residence, Alakapuri is said to be a city crafted from pure gold, encrusted with countless gemstones, and surrounded by lush gardens brimming with rare, fragrant blooms. Rivers of liquid silver flow through its valleys, and its skies are perpetually adorned with hues of twilight. Yet, despite the overwhelming riches, Alakapuri is not a realm of indulgence but a testament to the divine harmony of prosperity and responsibility. Kubera's symbolic importance extends far beyond material wealth. He represents the principle that wealth, while a source of comfort and happiness, must be acquired and used ethically. In his hands, riches become a means to uphold dharma, to foster growth, and to create balance in the world. Unlike his brother Ravana, whose greed and arrogance led to his downfall, Kubera embodies the virtues of generosity and self-control. The legends of Kubera often emphasize this balance. In one tale, it is said that Ravana, consumed by his desire for dominance, forcibly took Kubera's celestial chariot, the Pushpaka Vimana. Despite the humiliation, Kubera did not retaliate with rage or malice. Instead, he sought solace in his divine duties, knowing that the cycles of karma would eventually restore justice. His restraint and wisdom remind us that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in the strength of character. Kubera's role as the treasurer of the gods is vividly portrayed during the grand rituals of Hindu worship. Offerings of gold, grains, and fragrant flowers are made in his honor, seeking his blessings for prosperity and success. However, his blessings come with a silent warning: wealth must never become an end in itself. It must serve a higher purpose, aligning with the principles of dharma and benefiting not just the individual but the larger community. Kubera's association with goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, further highlights his symbolic role. While Lakshmi represents the abundance of wealth and fortune, Kubera is its guardian and distributor. Together, they teach that while wealth can flow freely like a river, it must be channeled wisely to sustain its purity and purpose. Among his many treasures, Kubera is said to guard the Navaniti, the 9 forms of wealth, and the Niti treasures, vast reserves of hidden riches buried deep within the earth. These treasures are not merely material but spiritual, symbolizing the virtues of generosity, wisdom, patience, and humility. To seek Kubera's blessings is to seek a balanced life, where material success complements spiritual growth. Kubera's presence is invoked in countless homes and temples during auspicious occasions, particularly during festivals like Diwali, when lamps are lit to invite prosperity and dispel darkness. His mantras are chanted with devotion, his images placed alongside those of Lakshmi, and his blessings sought for a life of abundance, free from greed and misfortune. Yet, Kubera's wealth is not for the unworthy. In the scriptures, he is described as a vigilant guardian, his eyes ever watchful, ensuring that his treasures do not fall into the wrong hands. Those who seek wealth without respect for dharma or who use it for selfish, harmful purposes are said to invoke his displeasure. Kabura's wealth, after all, is divine. It carries with it the weight of responsibility and the expectation of righteousness. Kabura also holds a unique place in the pantheon as a patron of travelers and traders. In ancient times, merchants embarking on long, perilous journeys would offer prayers to Kabura, seeking his protection and blessings for successful ventures. His role as a guardian of wealth extends to safeguarding those who create and share it, ensuring that their endeavors are met with fairness and prosperity. But perhaps the most profound aspect of Kabura's story is his embodiment of contentment. Despite being the custodian of unimaginable riches, Kabura does not covet them for himself. His life is a lesson in detachment and finding joy not in possession but in purpose. He teaches us that wealth, when approached with gratitude and humility, becomes a tool for greater good, a source of harmony rather than division. In the quiet moments, when the lamps burn low and the chants fade into silence, Kabura's presence lingers as a reminder. Wealth is fleeting, but the virtues it can nurture, kindness, generosity, and balance, are eternal. As the keeper of treasures, Kabura holds the key to more than just gold and jewels. He holds the key to a life of true abundance, where prosperity is measured not by what we own, but by what we give. The air hums with the reverence of countless voices, chanting his name with fervent devotion, Jai Hanuman. His image is everywhere, on the walls of temples, etched into the hearts of believers, and carved into the ancient fabric of time itself. Hanuman, the devoted monkey god, is not just a figure of strength and loyalty. He is a living embodiment of what it means to love unconditionally, to serve with complete surrender, and to rise above one's own limitations in the name of a higher cause. Hanuman's tale begins in the dense forests of Kishkinda, where he was born as the son of the wind god Vayu and Anjana, a celestial nymph. From his birth, it was clear that Hanuman was no ordinary being. As a child, his curiosity knew no bounds. One day, mistaking the blazing sun for a ripe fruit, he leapt into the sky to grasp it. The universe watched in awe as the young monkey reached for the heavens, his tiny form brimming with divine energy. But this act of innocence disrupted the cosmos, forcing Indra, the king of gods, to strike him with his thunderbolt. Hanuman fell back to earth, injured, but not defeated. It was his father Vayu's grief that moved the gods. To console the distraught wind god, they blessed Hanuman with unimaginable gifts, the strength of 1,000 elephants, speed that could outpace the wind, a body impervious to harm, and a mind as sharp as the sharpest blade. Yet, with all these divine boons, Hanuman's true greatness lay not in his powers, but in his heart, a heart that beat only for service, love, and devotion. Hanuman's journey to becoming the epitome of devotion truly began when he encountered Lord Rama, the prince of Ayodhya, who was searching for his abducted wife, Sita. The moment Hanuman saw Rama, his soul recognized its purpose. He fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face, and vowed to serve him with every fiber of his being. It wasn't an act of submission, it was an act of love so pure and profound that it would inspire generations to come. When Rama's plight deepened, and the search for Sita became a daunting task, it was Hanuman who rose to the occasion. His unwavering faith in Rama and his mission ignited a fire within him that no force could extinguish. In one of the most iconic moments in Hindu mythology, Hanuman stood at the edge of the southern sea, gazing across its vast expanse to Lanka, where Sita was held captive. The daunting task of crossing the ocean didn't deter him. He closed his eyes, whispered Rama's name, and with a single bound, leapt into the skies, his form growing colossal, his faith carrying him further than any mortal could imagine. When he reached Lanka, Hanuman's courage shone brightly. Disguised as a mere monkey, he infiltrated the fortress of the demon king Ravana, found Sita, and reassured her that Rama would come to her rescue. But his mission didn't end there. To demonstrate the might of Rama's loyal servant, Hanuman allowed himself to be captured and brought before Ravana. When the demon king ordered his tail to be set ablaze, Hanuman turned the punishment into a weapon. With his burning tail, he leapt from building to building, setting the entire city of Lanka aflame. It wasn't destruction for its own sake, it was a message, a fiery testament to the power of devotion and justice. But Hanuman's greatness isn't confined to his physical feats or his cleverness. His true power lies in his humility. Despite his unparalleled strength and the reverence he commands, he always sees himself as a mere servant of Rama. When praised for his heroics, he folds his hands and says, "I am but a servant, carrying out the will of my Lord." His humility is a beacon, teaching us that no matter how great our achievements, the greatest virtue is to remain grounded in love and purpose. Hanuman's devotion extends beyond Rama to Sita, whom he sees as a divine mother. His respect for her is boundless, and his interactions with her are laced with the tenderness of a child speaking to a parent. When he hands her Rama's ring as a token of hope, his eyes reflect not just his loyalty but his deep understanding of her suffering. In that moment, Hanuman is more than a messenger. He is a lifeline, a carrier of faith and love in the darkest of times. Even after the epic war in Lanka, when Rama's purpose was fulfilled, Hanuman chose to stay behind. He didn't seek glory or rest. Instead, he asked for one thing, the eternal privilege to chant Rama's name. His devotion transcends time, making him a figure who exists not just in mythology but in the hearts of millions. For every devotee who calls upon him in times of need, Hanuman is there, a protector, a guide, and a friend. To this day, Hanuman is celebrated in every corner of India and beyond. He is the protector of the weak, the remover of obstacles, and the embodiment of selfless service. In the Hanuman Chalisa, a 40-verse hymn sung in his honor, his virtues are extolled with fervent devotion. Every verse carries the power of his presence, and every recitation brings solace to troubled hearts. But Hanuman is not just a god to be worshipped, he is an ideal to be lived. He teaches us that true strength comes not from physical power but from unwavering faith. He reminds us that humility is greater than pride, that service is nobler than domination, and that love, when pure and unconditional, can move mountains, literally and metaphorically. And so, Hanuman remains, a timeless figure perched on the edge of the human heart, waiting to leap into action whenever his name is called. In his eyes, we see courage. In his hands, we find protection. And in his heart, we witness the boundless depths of devotion, a devotion that continues to light the path for all who seek to live with purpose and love. The skies were heavy, a deep indigo hue, as though the heavens themselves bore the weight of unseen karma. In the silence of the celestial plain, there stood a figure cloaked in midnight shadows. His eyes, piercing and unyielding, seemed to peer into the very soul, exposing every flaw, every truth, every hidden corner of the heart. Shani, the planet god of Saturn, is not just an observer of the cosmos, he is its stern teacher, the deliverer of justice, and the unwavering hand of fate. Born to the radiant sun god, Surya, and his wife, Chaya, Shani was an enigma from the very beginning. While his father blazed with the brilliance of 1,000 suns, Shani embodied the cool, dark stillness of the void. From his mother, he inherited an intense focus and a nature forged in endurance. But his bond with his father was strained from the start. Surya, with his bright and overbearing light, failed to understand the depth of his son's silence, the gravitas in his gaze. Shani was a stark contrast, a being who would bring balance to the world through reflection and consequence. Shani's journey as the god of karma began when he undertook his cosmic role, sitting atop his vahana, a crow or raven, an ominous and watchful bird symbolizing intelligence and detachment. From this vantage point, Shani observed the deeds of mortals and gods alike, weighing their actions without bias or favor. Unlike other deities who could be swayed by devotion or offerings, Shani remained steadfast, unmoved by bribes or flattery. His judgment was final, his justice absolute. It is said that Shani's gaze has the power to alter destinies, a force both feared and revered. Stories of his drishti, or glance, echo throughout Hindu mythology. In one tale, when Shani's father, Surya, mocked his dark complexion, Shani fixed his gaze upon him. Instantly, the sun's radiant glow dimmed, his brilliance waning under the power of Shani's karmic authority. It wasn't vengeance that drove Shani, it was a lesson. Even the mightiest must learn humility and respect, for arrogance is a shadow that even the brightest light cannot escape. Shani's role as the stern teacher is most evident during the period known as Satsati, the 7.5-year phase when Saturn's influence is believed to challenge individuals. For many, this time is marked by loss, hardship, and introspection. It is during Sad Sati that Shani reveals his true nature, not as a tormentor, but as a guide. Through trials and tribulations, he strips away illusions, forcing people to confront their deepest fears and weaknesses. It is not cruelty, it is purification. Like a blacksmith hammering metal, Shani's lessons shape and strengthen the soul. One of the most poignant stories of Shani's transformative power is the tale of King Vikramaditya. The wise and just king, confident in his virtues, dismissed Shani's significance, claiming that no planet could influence him. Shani, amused by the king's arrogance, decided to teach him the most valuable lesson of his life. He orchestrated events that led to the king losing his wealth, his kingdom, and even his dignity. Stripped of all external markers of success, Vikramaditya was forced to confront his inner self. In the end, he emerged humbler, wiser, and more compassionate, a ruler truly deserving of his throne. It was Shani's grace, hidden in hardship, that transformed him. But Shani is not merely a harbinger of difficulties. He is also a protector, a guardian who rewards integrity and hard work. For those who live righteously, his influence is a blessing, bringing stability and prosperity. He teaches that wealth earned through honest means, relationships built on trust, and lives led with humility are the foundations of true happiness. His lessons are hard, but they are just, and they pave the way for lasting growth. Shani's dual nature, as both the feared and the revered, stems from his impartiality. He treats everyone equally, whether king or commoner, god or demon. His justice does not discriminate, for he sees beyond titles, appearances, and social constructs. To Shani, only actions matter. It is this unwavering commitment to fairness that makes him the ultimate teacher, one who ensures that no deed, good or bad, goes unnoticed. In the villages of India, Saturdays are dedicated to Shani. Devotees light oil lamps and offer black sesame seeds, iron, and mustard oil at his temples. They seek his forgiveness, his guidance, and his blessings. For many, these rituals are acts of surrender, acknowledgments of the karmic cycles that govern life. The crows that gather around his temples are fed with reverence, their dark feathers glinting in the sunlight, a reminder of Shani's watchful presence. Yet, Shani remains misunderstood by many. His lessons, though invaluable, are often resisted. People curse his name in times of suffering, forgetting that it is through these very trials that they grow. Shani, however, is patient. He knows that his role is not to be loved, but to be respected, for it is only through respect that his teachings can take root. As the guardian of karma, Shani holds a mirror to the soul, reflecting both its light and its shadows. He is the silence in the chaos, the pause that forces reflection. His presence reminds us that life is not about escaping difficulties, but embracing them as opportunities for growth. For in the crucible of hardship, we find our true selves, resilient, humble, and whole. And so, Shani waits, ever watchful, ever just, guiding us toward the path of righteousness, one hard-earned lesson at a time. The world was cloaked in twilight, a liminal moment where the line between light and darkness blurred into nothingness. In that fragile space, where shadows stretched long and whispers of the unseen filled the air, two celestial forces stirred, their presence felt but rarely understood. Rahu and Ketu, the shadow planets, embody the mysteries of desire and detachment, of chaos and liberation. They are the unseen hands that turn the wheels of fate, weaving threads of uncertainty into the tapestry of life. Once upon a time, when the heavens and earth were still young, a grand event unfolded, Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean of milk. Gods and demons joined forces to unearth the elixir of immortality, the Amrita, hidden in the depths of the cosmic ocean. It was a moment of uneasy truce, for both sides coveted the nectar, though their intentions differed. The gods sought it for the preservation of order, while the demons hungered for power. When the Amrita finally emerged, shimmering like liquid starlight, Vishnu, the preserver, disguised himself as the enchanting Mohini. With divine charm, he agreed to distribute the nectar, but his plan was clear: he would ensure the gods alone received its blessing. The demons, blinded by their desire, failed to notice the deception. But one among them, a cunning and restless Asura named Swarbanu, saw through the ruse. Driven by an insatiable thirst for immortality, he disguised himself as a god and slipped into their ranks. As Mohini poured the nectar into golden chalices, Swarbanu drank deeply, savoring the taste of eternity. But before he could swallow, the sun and moon, ever watchful, recognized the intruder. They alerted Vishnu, who, with a flash of his Sudarshana chakra, severed Swarbanu's head from his body. Yet, the nectar had already touched his lips, rendering him immortal even in dismemberment. His head, now known as Rahu, and his body, known as Ketu, were cast into the heavens, forever cursed to wander as shadows of their former selves. Rahu and Ketu are unlike any other celestial beings. They are not planets in the traditional sense, but nodes, intersections of the sun and moon's orbits, representing eclipses, moments when light is obscured, when clarity gives way to confusion. Rahu, the head, embodies insatiable desire, obsession, and the unquenchable thirst for worldly pleasures. Ketu, the body, symbolizes detachment, liberation, and spiritual awakening. Together, they form a paradox, two halves of the same soul, eternally chasing what they cannot possess. It is said that Rahu and Ketu's vendetta against the sun and moon for revealing their deception lives on in the cosmic dance of eclipses. When Rahu swallows the sun or moon, darkness falls, but it is never eternal, the light always returns. This celestial phenomenon is a reminder of the transient nature of life's struggles, a testament to the resilience of truth against the forces of chaos. Rahu's influence is potent and disruptive. He is the master of illusion, casting shadows over the mind and heart, leading one into the labyrinth of desires, ambitions, and unfulfilled cravings. Under Rahu's shadow, people may rise to great heights but often lose themselves in the process, forgetting the roots that anchor them. His energy is intoxicating, like a storm that sweeps through life, shaking foundations and challenging certainties. Ketu, on the other hand, is the stillness that follows the storm, the quiet pull toward introspection and self-realization. Where Rahu entangles, Ketu untangles. His influence can strip away attachments, forcing one to confront the impermanence of all things. Yet, his lessons, though harsh, lead to spiritual growth. Ketu's path is not easy. It is the path of letting go, of surrendering to the unknown and finding peace in the void. In Vedic astrology, Rahu and Ketu are considered karmic forces, markers of past life deeds and their impact on the present. They are the gatekeepers of destiny, pushing individuals into situations that challenge their character and beliefs. Rahu, with his unrelenting hunger, teaches the dangers of excess, while Ketu, with his detachment, reveals the emptiness of worldly pursuits. Together, they guide the soul toward balance, forcing it to navigate the dualities of existence. But Rahu and Ketu are not merely harbingers of chaos and transformation. They are also protectors in their own right. Rahu grants the courage to break boundaries, to challenge norms and reach for the impossible. He is the force that drives innovation and ambition. Ketu, meanwhile, offers the gift of wisdom, the clarity that emerges from letting go of ego and embracing humility. Their influence, though intense, is necessary for growth, for without trials, the soul remains stagnant. Throughout the ages, sages and seers have meditated upon Rahu and Ketu's mysteries, seeking to understand their place in the cosmic order. Their presence in myths, rituals, and astrology serves as a reminder that life is not just a linear journey but a cycle of creation, destruction, and renewal. They teach that light and shadow are inseparable, that one cannot exist without the other. To fear them is to misunderstand them, for their purpose is not to punish but to awaken. In temples dedicated to Rahu and Ketu, devotees offer prayers and rituals to appease their energies. Serpent motifs, symbolizing the shadow planets, adorn these sacred spaces, for both Rahu and Ketu are often depicted with serpent-like forms. Offerings of black sesame seeds, blue flowers, and metal objects are made, acts of humility and reverence for the forces that govern karma. Rahu and Ketu's dance across the heavens is a story without an ending, a perpetual cycle of desire and liberation, chaos and clarity. They are the shadows that remind us of the light, the challenges that shape our character, the forces that push us to confront our deepest fears and greatest potential. In their shadows, we find the truth of who we are, stripped of illusion, laid bare in the cosmic light. The forest was alive with the hum of unseen life, dense, ancient, and sacred. The air carried the scent of damp earth and wild jasmine, and the silence was punctuated only by the soft rustle of leaves underfoot. Amid this serenity, a temple stood on the sacred hill of Sabarimala, glowing faintly under the soft light of countless oil lamps. It was here, deep in the heart of Kerala, that the tale of Ayyappa was born, a story that transcends time, faith, and tradition. Ayyappa, the protector god, is unlike any other deity in Hindu mythology. His origins are steeped in both divine mystery and human resilience, a confluence of celestial purpose and earthly trials. He is the son of two opposing forces, Vishnu, the preserver, in his form as Mohini, and Shiva, the destroyer. Born of this union, Ayyappa embodies balance, a harmonious blending of the masculine and feminine, the preserver and destroyer, the protector and the warrior. But Ayyappa's birth was not merely an act of divine whimsy, it was a necessity. The world was under threat from the demoness Mahishi, whose tyranny knew no bounds. Her power was immense, born of a boon that made her invincible to all but a child born of both Shiva and Vishnu. Ayyappa was that child, the destined savior. His very existence was a promise, a beacon of hope in a world teetering on the brink of chaos. Yet, Ayyappa's story is not just one of divine origin but also of human struggle. Raised as a mortal prince in the royal family of Pundalam, he grew up unaware of his celestial lineage. From an early age, he displayed extraordinary wisdom and strength, a natural leader loved by his people. But as with all great heroes, his life was not without trials. One of the most poignant episodes in Ayyappa's life was the conspiracy against him. The queen, blinded by her own desires for power, feigned an illness and demanded a cure that required the milk of a tigress. It was a task meant to be impossible, designed to rid the kingdom of the young prince she perceived as a threat to her biological son's claim to the throne. Yet, Ayyappa, with his characteristic courage and compassion, accepted the challenge without hesitation. Venturing into the deep forest, Ayyappa faced dangers that would break the spirit of any ordinary man. But he was no ordinary man. With a heart filled with unwavering devotion and a sense of purpose, he tamed the wild, befriended the beasts, and eventually returned riding a tigress, surrounded by her cubs. The sight left the palace in awe, the queen humbled, and the truth of Ayyappa's divine nature revealed. He was not just a prince, he was the protector god. But Ayyappa's destiny was not to rule as a king. His mission extended beyond the palace walls and into the very fabric of human existence. He relinquished all worldly ties and retreated to Sabarimala, where he took his place as the eternal guardian of his devotees. Here, in the lush wilderness, he became a symbol of selflessness, a god for all, transcending the barriers of caste, creed, and religion. Ayyappa's essence is deeply rooted in his principles of discipline, equality, and devotion. The annual pilgrimage to Sabarimala is a testament to these values. Devotees, regardless of their social status, undertake a 41-day period of austerity, shedding their worldly identities and donning simple black attire. They walk barefoot, carry their humble offerings in a cloth bundle, and chant his name, Swami Saranam Ayyappa, surrendering their egos at his feet. The journey is arduous, but it mirrors the trials of life, teaching perseverance, humility, and the ultimate truth that all are equal before the divine. The climb to the temple, through rugged terrain and dense forests, culminates in a moment of profound spiritual awakening. The 18 sacred steps leading to the sanctum symbolize a conquest of human limitations, a shedding of ignorance, and a union with the divine. Ayyappa's story is not just about slaying demons or performing miracles. It is about the quiet strength that lies in surrender, the courage to stand for truth, and the power of devotion to transcend the ordinary. He is the God who teaches that the greatest battles are fought within, that the path to divinity lies not in grandeur but in simplicity, and that protection is an act of love as much as it is of strength. Even today, the legend of Ayyappa resonates deeply in Kerala and beyond. His name is a call to unity, his temple a sanctuary for all who seek solace. In a world often divided by differences, Ayyappa stands as a reminder of the oneness that binds us all. His presence is felt not just in the chants that echo through the forests of Sabarimala, but in the hearts of those who walk the path of faith and surrender. And as the lamps of his temple flicker in the twilight, their glow mingling with the stars above, one can almost hear his promise whispered through the rustling leaves, a promise of protection, of hope, and of a love that knows no bounds. The sun hung low over the vast, sprawling plains of Maharashtra, casting a golden glow on the riverbanks of Pandharpur. The waters of the Chandrabhaga River sparkled under the fading light, winding like a sacred thread around the small temple town. Here, amidst the prayers of devotees and the whispers of the wind, the spirit of Vithoba, the beloved deity of devotion, is felt in every breath, every step, every sound. Vithoba is not just a god, he is a companion, a confidant, and a cherished member of every devotee's family. Standing barefoot on a brick, hands resting gently on his hips, his gaze is serene yet piercing. His stance is not one of grandeur but of patient waiting, a silent assurance that he is always there, for the weary, the lost, the hopeful. He is Vishnu and Krishna, yet he is so deeply human, embodying love, compassion, and unwavering devotion. But who is Vithoba, and how did he come to reside in Pandharpur, the spiritual heartbeat of Maharashtra? His story begins with Pundelik, a devotee whose tale is etched into the soul of every pilgrim who walks these sacred grounds. Pundelik was once an arrogant man, selfish and dismissive of his aging parents. His life revolved around indulgence, ignoring the duties that life had entrusted him with. But fate, as it often does, intervened. During a pilgrimage to Kashi, Pundelik encountered a transformative vision, one that showed him the pain he had caused his parents and the unshakable love they held for him despite it. This moment cracked his hardened heart, flooding it with repentance and a newfound devotion not only to his parents but to the very idea of selfless service. He returned to Pandharpur a changed man. Now, his days were spent caring for his parents with unwavering dedication. It is said that one day, as he was attending to them, the divine appeared at his doorstep. Vishnu himself stood there, radiant and eternal. Yet Pundelik, consumed by his duties, did not abandon his task. Instead, he offered Vishnu a brick to stand on and asked him to wait. The god, moved by Pundelik's devotion, stood there patiently, embodying the very essence of what he had come to bless, bhakti, or devotion. In that moment, Vithoba was born, not just as a deity but as an eternal presence, a symbol of unwavering faith and divine love. The brick beneath his feet became a testament to the humility and selflessness that define true devotion. The temple of Vithoba in Pandharpur is not a place of pomp or ostentation. It is a sanctuary for the soul, where the walls echo with the heartfelt abhangas, devotional songs, of saints like Tukaram, Namdev, and Jnaneshwar. These poets, who lived lives steeped in devotion, sang of Vithoba not as a distant, unreachable god but as a friend, a parent, and a guide. The Warkaris, pilgrims who walk for days to reach Pandharpur, carry this legacy forward. Their journey, known as the Wari, is not just a physical trek but a spiritual odyssey. Clad in simple white, carrying saffron flags, and chanting the name of Vithoba with every step, they embody the essence of devotion. Their voices rise in unison, calling out Vithoba, Mauli, their hearts brimming with love as they approach his temple. Vithoba's form is simple yet profound. The black stone idol, adorned with tulsi and flowers, does not intimidate or awe. Instead, it comforts, as if saying, "I am one of you." His hands on his hips, his slight smile, and his steady gaze are reminders that he is here not to rule but to guide, to wait, and to love unconditionally. The relationship between Vithoba and his devotees is deeply personal. To some, he is Vithala, the savior who listens to every unspoken prayer. To others, he is Panduranga, the ever-present guardian. And to many, he is Mauli, the mother, the nurturer, the one who holds their pain and joys as his own. Vithoba's essence lies in his accessibility. He does not demand grand rituals or sacrifices. He asks only for devotion, for a heart that beats with faith and a mind that seeks solace in his presence. His message is one of equality, cutting across barriers of caste, class, and creed. In his temple, the rich and the poor, the learned and the unlettered, stand shoulder to shoulder, bound by the same love and devotion. The Abhangas sung in his praise capture the depth of this bond. Tukaram's verses speak of surrender, of letting go of ego and pride to embrace the simplicity of faith. Namdev's songs paint Vithoba as a playful friend, one who teases and loves in equal measure. These hymns are not mere words, they are lifelines, strings of love that connect the mortal to the divine. The beauty of Vithoba lies in his timeless relevance. In a world often marked by chaos and division, his message of love, humility, and devotion resonates across generations. His temple in Pandharpur is not just a structure of stone and mortar but a living embodiment of hope, a reminder that the divine waits for all, patiently, lovingly, endlessly. As the sun sets over the Chandrabhaga River, the temple lights begin to glow, and the chants of devotees fill the air. Vithoba stands in quiet grace, his hands on his hips, his gaze eternal. He waits, not just for the pilgrims who walk miles to see him, but for every heart that seeks him in faith and love. And in that wait, in his silent presence, he continues to teach the greatest lesson of all, that true divinity lies not in power but in devotion. In the coastal town of Puri, where the Bay of Bengal kisses the sands with its rhythmic waves, there stands a temple that seems to hum with an energy unlike any other. This is the abode of Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, a deity whose presence transcends boundaries of faith, time, and geography. Within the sacred walls of the temple, the atmosphere is thick with devotion, as though the very air carries the stories and prayers of countless souls. Jagannath is no ordinary deity. His wooden form, painted in vibrant hues of black, white, and yellow, with large, unblinking eyes and a smile that holds mysteries untold, is both comforting and enigmatic. Unlike the finely sculpted idols of many temples, Jagannath's appearance is raw, almost childlike, as if carved straight from the heart of the earth to remind us of the divine in simplicity. He does not hold weapons, nor does he strike a regal pose. He simply stands, eternal and immovable, with his siblings Balabhadra and Subhadra by his side, embodying love, family, and the infinite cosmos. The story of Jagannath is woven into the very fabric of Indian mythology, a tale of divine intervention, craftsmanship, and an unshakable bond between the deity and his devotees. It is said that King Indradyumna, a devout ruler, once had a dream of a divine form that could be worshipped as the essence of the universe. Driven by this vision, he set out on a quest to find this sacred form. His journey led him to the shores of Puri, where the divine carpenter Vishwakarma agreed to carve the idol, but on one condition. He would do so behind closed doors, and no one was to disturb him until the work was complete. Days turned into weeks, and the sound of tools gradually ceased, plunging the palace into silence. Unable to contain his curiosity and fearing something amiss, the king opened the doors, only to find the idol's incomplete, unfinished arms, rough edges, and a form that defied conventional beauty. But in that imperfection lay a profound truth. The deity, in his incomplete form, represented the wholeness of the universe, a reminder that the divine transcends human notions of perfection. Jagannath's temple in Puri, the sacred Sri Mandir, stands as a testament to devotion and unity. Every year, it becomes the epicenter of one of the world's largest spiritual gatherings, the Rath Yatra, or the Chariot Festival. During this grand spectacle, Jagannath, along with Balabhadra and Subhadra, is placed on towering chariots and taken through the streets, allowing devotees to catch a glimpse of their beloved Lord. The air fills with chants of Jai Jagannath, the beating of drums, and the sound of conch shells. The sight of the massive chariots, pulled by thousands of hands, is both humbling and electrifying, a living metaphor for the collective devotion that binds humanity. What makes Jagannath even more extraordinary is his inclusivity. In a world often divided by rigid hierarchies and boundaries, he stands as a unifier. His temple kitchens, the largest in the world, prepare the sacred Mahaprasad, a meal that is shared by all, regardless of caste, creed, or social status. This act of communal dining, rooted in faith, serves as a reminder that in Jagannath's eyes, all are equal, all are divine. The deity's connection to the people is so profound that he is often seen not just as a god, but as a member of their family. He is loved, celebrated, and cared for with a tenderness that transcends ritual. During the annual Snana Yatra, when the idols are bathed in 108 pots of water, they are said to catch a cold, and a period of rest follows, during which the temple doors are closed. This simple act of care transforms Jagannath from an omnipotent deity to a beloved being who feels, suffers, and recovers, just like his devotees. Jagannath's legends are deeply tied to the cycles of life and renewal. Every 12 to 19 years, the idols are replaced in a sacred ceremony known as Nabakalebara, where the soul of the deity is transferred to new wooden forms. The old idols are buried with reverence, marking the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. This ritual, shrouded in secrecy, carries profound symbolism, echoing the eternal truth of life's impermanence and the continuity of the divine. For the people of Puri and beyond, Jagannath is not confined to the temple or the chariots. He is in their songs, their stories, and their everyday lives. The name Jagannath itself, Lord of the Universe, carries a resonance that goes beyond geographical and cultural boundaries. He is a deity who embraces all, his gaze encompassing the vastness of existence and the smallest of hearts. As the sun sets over Puri, casting a golden light on the temple spires, the evening rituals begin. The sound of cymbals and the chanting of hymns rise like a wave, reaching out to the farthest corners of the universe. Within the sanctum, Jagannath stands as he has for centuries, his large eyes seeming to watch over the world with infinite compassion and understanding. And in the hearts of his devotees, he continues to live, not just as a god but as a friend, a protector, and the very essence of the universe itself. In the sweltering heat of summer, when the earth seems to crack under the pressure of the relentless sun, a whisper rises from the lands of southern India, a prayer passed down from generation to generation. Mariam Man, the goddess of rain and fertility, bring your mercy upon us. The parched soil, desperate for the touch of water, sighs as the winds carry the song of her devotees, their hopes woven into every word. It is said that when the clouds gather in the sky, heavy with promise, the people know that Mariam Man is listening. Mariamman's legend is as old as the soil she nurtures. Her presence is felt in every monsoon, in every seed that pushes through the earth, and the grains that fill the farmer's granary. She is more than just a goddess, she is the pulse of life itself, the force that turns barren land into fields of green, the hand that stirs the heavens to release the rains. In the rural villages where she is most revered, Mariamman's name is spoken with the reverence of one who has the power to create and destroy, to give life and to take it away. Her image is both fierce and maternal. She is often depicted as a dark, powerful figure adorned with jewelry, her eyes wide and intense, reflecting the depth of her power and compassion. At times, she appears as a woman crowned with a headdress of flowers, her arms raised in a gesture of both blessing and warning. In other forms, Mariam Man is a goddess with a lion's face, signifying her power to both protect and destroy. But always, whether in her serene or her wrathful forms, she carries with her an aura of undeniable strength. Mariam Man is the protector of the land, the provider of the rains that bring life to the crops and prosperity to the villages. Without her blessing, the earth would wither, the crops would fail, and hunger would stalk the land. It is this deep connection between the goddess and the soil that makes her so integral to the lives of those who rely on the land for their livelihood. For the farmers who live in the rural villages of Tamil Nadu and other parts of southern India, Mariam Man is both a lifeline and a guardian, her blessings sought before each planting season and after every harvest. But Mariamman's power is not just about the bounty she bestows upon the earth. It is also about the fertility she brings to human life. She is the goddess of motherhood, of the woman's womb, of the divine gift of childbirth. Her temples are not just places of prayer for the rains, but also sanctuaries for those who seek her blessings for conception, for the health of the unborn child, and for the strength to raise their children in the face of life's many trials. Her blessings are woven into the very fabric of family life, and her name is invoked at every milestone, from the first cry of a newborn to the first steps taken by a child. Her association with fertility is tied to more than just physical reproduction. Mariam Man embodies the very idea of creation itself, creation of life, creation of love, creation of hope. She is the divine force that gives form to that which was once formless, who turns the barren into the blooming, who nurtures and sustains all that grows. Her divine energy flows through the rivers and streams, through the rains that nourish the earth, through the seeds that take root in the soil and sprout into life. Yet, for all her nurturing power, Miriam Man is not one to be taken lightly. Her wrath, when invoked, can be as fierce as the storms she sends to the earth. It is said that when the rains do not come, when the crops wither and the earth becomes dry, the people turn to Miriam Man with urgency, offering her prayers, sacrifices, and rituals to appease her. For Miriam Man is both the giver and the taker. Her blessings are not to be taken for granted. Her storms can be violent, her power unrestrained, and she is as quick to withdraw her favor as she is to offer it. The rains may flood the land as easily as they bring life, a reminder that in nature, as in life, there is balance. Her temples are places of both worship and ritual. The festivals in her honor are grand and filled with fervor, with people dancing in the streets, chanting her name, offering fruits, flowers, and incense. The sound of bells ringing in her temples calls out to the heavens, as the devotees seek her blessings with intense devotion. It is during these festivals that Miriam's power is most acutely felt. Her devotees believe that her presence is most palpable when they are united in their prayers, when their collective energy fills the air, and when their hearts beat in rhythm with the divine. Her power is felt most during the monsoon months, when the earth, parched and cracked under the sun, is soaked in the life-giving rains that follow. It is during this time that the land comes alive again, when the crops flourish and the farmers rejoice. The fields are green once more, the rivers run full, and the people know that Miriam Man has heard their prayers. It is a time of celebration, a time of gratitude, a time when the whole community comes together to honor the goddess who brought them their harvest and their livelihood. But Miriam's power goes beyond the earth, beyond the rains, beyond the fertility of crops and humans. She is the protector of all that lives, the fierce mother who guards her children from harm. Her devotees come to her not only in times of need, but also in times of joy, to give thanks for the blessings she has bestowed upon them. Her role as a protector is just as important as her role as a giver of life. She watches over her people, ensuring their safety, their happiness, and their prosperity. To honor Miriam Man is to honor the earth itself, to recognize the interconnectedness of all life, and to remember that the divine is found in the simplest of things, the rain that falls from the sky, the seed that grows in the ground, the child that is born into the world. Miriam's blessing is a reminder that life is fragile, but it is also beautiful, and that in a nurturing embrace, we are all protected, all loved, and all cared for. In the stillness of the night, when the moon casts its silvery glow over the earth, a serpent stirs in the shadows, its sleek body coiling silently, its eyes glowing with a divine fire. It is Manasa, the serpent goddess, whose presence is felt in every whisper of the wind, and every rustle of leaves, and in the pulse of the earth itself. Her name, whispered in reverence, speaks of both danger and grace, power and protection, a reminder that the forces of nature are both beautiful and untamed. Manasa is not simply a goddess of serpents, she is the embodiment of their mystery, their majesty, and their deep connection to the earth. She is often depicted as a woman with a serpent's body, or with serpents adorning her form, their twisted coils forming a protective barrier around her. In her hands, she holds the power to heal and to harm, to curse and to bless, much like the very creatures she rules over. The serpent, a symbol of danger and wisdom, becomes her vehicle for delivering divine justice and mercy. To the people of Bengal, Assam, and parts of eastern India, Manasa is more than just a mythological figure, she is a living, breathing force of nature. In rural villages, her temples are dedicated to her worship a blend of ancient rituals, offerings, and prayers. People seek her blessings not only for protection from snake bites, but also for prosperity, health, and fertility. Her connection to the earth and to the cycle of life is profound. She is believed to have the power to ward off evil spirits, to cure diseases, and to bring abundance to those who honor her. Her origins are tied to the ancient belief in the serpentine forces of nature, those unseen powers that move beneath the surface, hidden yet essential to the balance of life. In her earliest stories, Manasa was not always revered. She had to fight for her place among the gods. According to the legends, she was born to the sage Kashyapa and Kadru, the mother of the serpents. But in her early years, the gods and even the people of the earth rejected her, for she was seen as a dark and dangerous force, a being too wild to be trusted. Her beauty and grace could not conceal the power she held, and it was this very power that made the heavens tremble. Manasa's path to acceptance was not easy. She had to prove herself worthy of worship, not through brute force, but through compassion, through the gift she could offer. It is said that when the people were plagued by deadly serpents, it was Manasa who intervened, using her serpentine power to bring healing and protection. It was in this act of mercy that she earned the reverence of the people, and her temples began to rise in her honor. The rituals of Manasa worship are steeped in ancient traditions, filled with incense, sacred chants, and offerings of milk, flowers, and fruits. Devotees believe that by invoking her name, they can invoke her protection from poisonous snakes, diseases, and even the curses of other gods. Her devotees, often farmers and those who work closely with the land, see her as a vital force, one that ensures the fertility of their crops and the safety of their families. Her blessings are sought before important events, such as harvests, weddings, and births, for it is believed that Manasa's favor brings success and happiness. Manasa's most powerful symbolism is the connection between life and death, between creation and destruction. She is a goddess who understands the balance of the universe, the need for both to exist in harmony. The serpent is both a symbol of destruction and rebirth, shedding its skin as it moves through life. In this way, Manasa reflects the cyclical nature of existence, the way in which life constantly renews itself, even after destruction. It is through this renewal that true growth can occur. Her followers believe that in her embrace, even the darkest of times can lead to a new beginning. Yet, despite her healing powers, Manasa's wrath can be as fierce as the serpent's bite. Those who disrespect her or fail to honor her may find themselves facing her fury, which is not easily appeased. It is said that she can curse those who defy her, sending serpents to plague them or bringing misfortune to their lives. Her curse is not one of cruelty but of justice, a reminder that balance must be maintained, that the powers of nature are not to be taken lightly. But even in her wrath, Manasa's actions are rooted in the principle of restoration, of bringing things back into harmony. Her association with snakes only adds to her mystique. Snakes, in many cultures, are seen as creatures of transformation, of mystery, and of power. They live between the worlds of the seen and unseen, slithering through cracks and crevices, hidden from view yet ever present. Manasa is the queen of these creatures, the one who holds dominion over their world. She is a guardian of their secrets, a protector of their lives, and in return, they offer her their loyalty and strength. As the goddess of serpents, Manasa's power extends beyond the physical world. She is said to have the ability to influence the very forces of nature, from the winds that blow through the trees to the rains that nourish the crops. Her presence is felt in every change of season, in every thunderstorm, and in every quiet moment when the earth seems to hold its breath. She is the eternal watchful eye, ensuring that the world remains in balance, that life continues to thrive, and that death does not claim more than it is due. In every corner of India, from the bustling streets of Kolkata to the quiet, rural villages of Assam, Manasa's name is invoked in times of need and times of joy. Her image, adorned with serpents, is seen in the homes of those who seek her protection, and the temples where her devotees offer their prayers. To them, she is not a distant deity but a presence that walks among them, a protector whose power can be felt in every step of their lives. The serpent goddess, with her wild beauty and fierce love, remains an eternal force of nature, both feared and revered, ever watchful, ever kind. The night sky above is alive with the hum of energy, a dance of stars and unseen forces swirling in perfect harmony, as though the universe itself were breathing. But beneath this serene facade, a battle rages, unseen by the mortal eye, where gods and demons clash in an eternal struggle that has no end. This is the cosmic balance, the delicate, fragile equilibrium that holds the fabric of existence together. On one side are the gods, divine beings of light, purity, and creation. On the other, the demons, beings of chaos, destruction, and shadow. Their interactions, sometimes violent, sometimes peaceful, dictate the flow of life, death, and rebirth in the universe. In Hindu mythology, the relationship between gods and demons is not one of simple good versus evil. It is far more intricate, as both are essential to the cosmic order. Without the demons, there could be no challenge to the gods, no test of their power, no way for the universe to renew itself. And without the gods, there would be no force to restore order, no savior to right the wrongs that the demons bring. This constant interplay, this dance of creation and destruction, is what keeps the universe from tipping into chaos. The gods are not only creators and protectors, they are also participants in the very forces that they must sometimes battle against. The demons, often known as asuras in Hindu texts, are not purely evil in the way that modern narratives might paint them. They are beings of immense power, often driven by pride, greed, or the desire for domination. In many stories, they are shown as having noble qualities, but their flaws often lead them astray. It is their ambition and refusal to follow cosmic law that makes them dangerous, for they seek to tip the balance of the universe in their favor, challenging the gods in their pursuit of power. However, these demons are not just villains in a tale of divine righteousness. They are also essential to the cosmic play, for without their challenges, the gods would not be able to demonstrate their own strength, wisdom, or the need for balance. One of the most famous stories of this cosmic balance is the churning of the ocean, or Samudra Manthan, a mythological event in which gods and demons temporarily put aside their differences in a shared quest. The ocean was churned to obtain the nectar of immortality, known as Amrita, but the effort brought forth not only divine treasures but also dreadful monsters, poison, and other dangerous entities that threatened the stability of the world. In this story, the gods and demons, despite being adversaries, had to cooperate to achieve a common goal. But, as with all cosmic events, there was a price to pay for their success. The poison that emerged from the churning threatened to destroy the entire universe. It was only through the intervention of Lord Shiva, who consumed the poison to save creation, that balance was restored. In this way, the gods and demons both contribute to the universe's cyclical rhythm, where creation, destruction, and transformation go hand in hand. Another layer of this cosmic balance can be found in the constant ebb and flow between the gods and demons in the battle for control over the heavens. The asuras, fueled by their desires for power, often launch attacks against the gods, seeking to overthrow them. Yet every time the demons gain the upper hand, the gods find a way to restore order, whether through divine intervention, the creation of a new avatar, or through the sacrifice of a godly figure. For instance, the demon king Ravana, despite his great power and devotion to Lord Shiva, became consumed by his own desires, leading him to wage war against the gods and the earth. But in his downfall, the heroism of Lord Rama, the very embodiment of divine order, was called upon to restore balance once more. The cosmic play between the gods and demons is not just about conflict, it is also about balance and cooperation. For instance, in many stories, the gods and demons work together to bring about a new creation or to protect the universe from a greater threat. In the great Hindu epics like the Mahabharata and Ramayana, there are instances where gods and demons form uneasy alliances, each recognizing the other's role in maintaining the cosmic balance. The Asura Mahabali, for instance, was a demon king who was beloved by his people. Though a demon, his reign was peaceful and prosperous, for he ruled with wisdom and fairness. His story is a reminder that demons are not always the embodiment of evil but can also be beings of great wisdom and justice, until their ego and pride lead them astray. The constant struggle between gods and demons mirrors the human experience in many ways. Every individual, like the universe itself, contains both light and dark, good and bad, creation and destruction. Just as the gods must battle the demons to maintain cosmic order, we too must navigate the forces within ourselves that seek to tip the scales of our own lives. The demons within us are often the manifestations of our fears, desires, and ego, while the gods represent our highest virtues, our capacity for love, wisdom, and understanding. The struggle between these forces is a universal theme, one that speaks to the heart of what it means to be human. In Hindu mythology, this cosmic balance is also about cyclical time. Creation and destruction occur in endless cycles, like the turning of the wheel of Dharma. The gods, through their avatars and their divine acts, work to preserve this cycle, ensuring that life continues and that the forces of chaos do not overwhelm the order of the universe. But the demons, too, play their part by challenging the gods and creating the tension that propels the narrative of existence forward. Without the presence of demons, the gods would have no reason to act, and the balance would stagnate. Through this eternal interplay, the universe remains in motion, ever-evolving, ever-renewing. And so, the cosmic balance continues, a never-ending dance between creation and destruction, light and dark, gods and demons. The gods may win battles, but they are not the victors of the war. The true winner is the balance itself, the eternal rhythm of the universe that cannot be broken, only maintained. The gods, the demons, and all the beings in between are but actors on a stage far grander than any single life could ever comprehend, and in their struggle, they fulfill their cosmic purpose, one of harmony, one of chaos, and, ultimately, one of balance. In a world that seems ever more chaotic, fragmented, and driven by material desires, the ancient wisdom of Hindu mythology holds a powerful relevance. The gods of Hinduism, whose tales have been passed down through millennia, are more than just deities of worship. They are symbols, archetypes, and mirrors reflecting the challenges and aspirations of human existence. They represent values that transcend time and place, offering guidance and solace to people navigating the complexities of the modern world. In the shifting sands of the 21st century, where spiritual foundations often seem to erode under the pressure of rapid technological and cultural change, the stories and teachings of the Hindu gods stand as beacons of resilience, wisdom, and transformation. Take, for instance, the figure of Lord Vishnu, the Preserver. In a time when environmental destruction, economic instability, and the fragility of peace are ever-present concerns, Vishnu's role in maintaining cosmic order speaks volumes. His avatars, especially in the form of Krishna and Rama, offer models of leadership, righteousness, and compassion. Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, urging individuals to fulfill their duties without attachment to the results, provide a timeless philosophy that helps people deal with the pressures of modern life. His message of devotion, not to the fruits of action, but to the higher purpose, is a source of solace to those struggling with the relentless demands of work, success, and personal fulfillment. In parallel, the concept of avatars, divine incarnations that appear in the world during times of crisis, resonates deeply in today's world. From the small-scale personal crises to the larger global challenges, we are in a time where people are beginning to recognize the need for transformative change. The idea that the divine may incarnate in the form of human beings to restore balance and righteousness offers hope to those who feel helpless in the face of overwhelming adversity. Just as Lord Vishnu incarnated as a fish, a tortoise, a boar, and a man-lion to preserve cosmic balance in mythological times, the idea that a higher power can take human form to restore justice resonates in the context of the everyday person's struggle against injustice, corruption, and chaos. Lord Shiva, the Destroyer, represents another vital force in today's world. Destruction in Hindu mythology is never to be feared as a loss, but rather as the beginning of transformation. Shiva's role as both a destroyer and a creator is particularly poignant in times of upheaval. The world is full of cycles of endings and beginnings, relationships, careers, and even ideologies dissolve to make way for new possibilities. In a world that often clings to the old, to the familiar, and to outdated systems, the destruction that Shiva brings is a reminder that sometimes, to grow, we must let go. This cycle of destruction and renewal is seen in the personal lives of people undergoing spiritual awakenings, shedding old identities, and transforming themselves into better versions of who they were meant to be. Similarly, the goddess Durga's embodiment of strength and courage strikes a chord with modern people who are fighting against oppression, inequality, and personal adversity. Durga, in her fierce form, vanquishes the demon Mahishasura, a symbol of evil that cannot be overcome through gentleness alone. Her victory is one of empowerment, a call to rise above the negative forces in life, whether they are external or internal. The modern woman, struggling against societal pressures, gender bias, and personal doubt, finds in Durga a figure of immense strength and resilience. Her victory against seemingly insurmountable odds serves as a reminder to those facing their own demons that empowerment lies not in passivity, but in action. The teachings of Lord Ganesha, the remover of obstacles, resonate deeply in the context of modern-day challenges. The god with the elephant head, often associated with new beginnings and the clearing of paths, serves as an inspiring figure for anyone dealing with obstacles, be they physical, mental, or emotional. Ganesha is revered for his ability to overcome difficulties, and his presence in people's lives often comes at a time when they are about to embark on new ventures or need to clear personal blockages. In today's world, where people feel burdened by financial crises, career decisions, and personal struggles, Ganesha's wisdom encourages them to stay focused and persistent, knowing that no obstacle is too big to overcome. Even the fierce goddess Kali, whose destructive power is often misunderstood, finds her relevance in the modern era. Kali is not a force of mere violence. She is the embodiment of change, of upheaval that comes before rebirth. In an age of rapid change, politically, socially, and technologically, Kali reminds us that the world's most painful transformations are often necessary. Her call for destruction of the ego and false identities provides a potent tool for anyone seeking spiritual clarity or personal growth in an increasingly fast-paced, superficial world. She invites individuals to confront their deepest fears and to embrace the transformative power that comes when we allow old ways to perish and new ways to emerge. The relevance of Hindu gods also extends to the idea of karma, the law of cause and effect that governs the universe. In today's interconnected world, where actions can have far-reaching consequences, the concept of karma offers a framework for understanding the moral impact of one's actions. It serves as a powerful reminder that our thoughts, words, and deeds shape not only our own destiny but the world around us. In a time when global issues like climate change, poverty, and inequality are driven by collective actions and inactions, karma calls for personal accountability and encourages individuals to take responsibility for their choices. Finally, the notion of dharma, the moral order that governs both individual lives and the cosmos, remains a central pillar of Hindu philosophy in the modern world. In the chaotic world of modernity, where moral questions are often more complex than ever before, dharma offers a guide to righteous living. It teaches the importance of doing what is right in the face of uncertainty, of making choices that align with our highest ideals and responsibilities. Dharma calls on individuals to act with integrity, honesty, and compassion, even when the world around them seems to be drifting away from these values. The gods of Hinduism, then, are far from being relics of an ancient past. They are living forces, potent with meaning and relevance in our modern lives. They are not just figures of worship, they are reflections of the human journey, of the struggles, the triumphs, and the transformation that each person undergoes. The Hindu gods and goddesses remind us that in every moment, we have the power to choose, to create, to destroy, and to transcend. In the timeless stories of the divine, we see ourselves reflected, our own struggles, our own hopes, and our own path to transformation. And in this recognition, we find the strength to face the future with courage, faith, and a renewed sense of purpose.